Have your moment here behind the microphone and explain some stuff. So if people have questions beside that, hopefully you will be free to answer them. So thank you for being here. So special thanks also for all the sponsors what make this event happening. Without them, we could not do a whole lot, and so we are very grateful with having some really great sponsors beside us. Beside that, okay, let's we have the AGM committee. I think they put a really nice schedule together for the next 2 days. We have some really nice good speakers here invited for all directions, 3 directions, and we have a farrier here who's gonna talk about his daily work. We have Paul Hendrix coming in a little bit. So and tomorrow we'll have Chester Weber. Also in the morning, he's competing right now at Live Oak, the dressage test. So yeah, so we're looking forward to have a very productive AGM here this year. So there will be more people coming. There's still people flying in. Still people attending at Live Oak right now. They want to enjoy the dressage test from all the combine driving people. What's going on right now, the first day. So they will join us later on tonight and tomorrow. So. Yeah, today we will spend all day here, like in the hotel. Kelly, can you start the spreadsheet?
There's the agenda. Oh yeah, sorry, I'll do that.
Yeah, well, all the schedules, day schedules are on the table, right?
So you're going to introduce the board?
Yeah. So, let's start with the board directors. My name is on the top, Wim Cazemier. I live up in northern Indiana, Spencerville. We have a horse farm there, and we stand 5 stallions, so we have a training facility. So, Jos Severans, where's Jos? Yeah, Jos is the vice chair. Thanks, Jos. We have Sandy. Sandy is not she's not right here. She's not here. She's watching from home. She's doing an amazing job, keeping the financials always together and explained very well, and does a really good work with the bookwork. Thanks, Sandy, for doing a great job. Kathy, sitting right behind the computer. Kathy Heckerson does the treasure. Doing a really good job. And we have Megan. Megan around?
I'm here.
Awesome.
I'm just being quiet right now. I know it's a miracle.
That's why I start raising a question. Yeah. Caitlin.
I'm right here.
Yeah. Thanks for being here, Caitlin.
Thank you.
And Tracy. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, looking back on 23, I think the financials, we're doing pretty good as a non-profit organization. We have a very well Stallion service auctions going, and big part of that is Liz. Liz, can you stand up a little bit? Some people might not know you. So this is Liz from Woerden. They do an amazing job for us organization. Finding sponsors, have people, reach out to a lot of people about want to donate breedings to the Stallion Service Auction, and also does our Facebook page and the website, does all the live in the news flashes. So we're very grateful to have and Tracy and Megan, of course, as well. Sorry, I should have mentioned them too. Yeah. So our bank account is looking very good. We have, this is going to be the 4th year for our foal futurity. That's been very well received by the breeders for the highest scoring foals every year. So hopefully we can continue with this foal futurity. Hopefully we can grow a little bit yet. But that is also will be, if there's something news will happen, that will be spoken about next time. Yeah. So the registrations are, from the last year, they were a little bit down, but not a whole lot. Stand here a little bit. So, but as the last year, maybe in 22, we were a little up in all the numbers, but also there was, the most thing was there behind it was the COVID years. The current numbers were up in 22 and they were slightly down in 23, but it's fairly steady. I mean, if you see on the years from like before, also the current tour, we normally had one tour, mostly done by Bart and two other judges beside him. Last year we split up the current tour in two circuits, and that's just going to happen again this year. So we're working on the current schedule right now, and it will be announced pretty soon what days they will be held in what what sites. So. Yeah, the membership was also a little bit down compared to the 22, but part of those numbers that they were down a little bit, it was also because we started to introduce the 3-year membership in 22. So people were very active signing up for the 22 for the 3-year membership. So that automatically gives you a little bit less, a lower number in 23. But actually, money-wise, we always became a little better by having people, a longer time membership paid for. So.
Liz, or if you did current entries.
Yeah, I think I told the current entry just a little bit. But yeah, so the current entries were a little down compared to 22, but there's also COVID. We didn't have any currents in 22, in 20 and 21. So the numbers in 22, they were really high. But compared to that, I think we were still very happy that we still had that many entries last year. So I guess that refers to the growing membership. So that makes sense. That if more members, we are going to have more horses inspected. So. Yeah, and then what we are very excited about that since last year we are formally associated with the NASTT, the North American Stallion Testing. 3 days in California, 3 days at the Hilltop Farm in Pennsylvania. We have Floor as our judge involved there from the KWPN. Yeah, we were talking about being involved with the NASTT, with the FN from Germany, for several years, and we are very happy we can offer this to our members now. And yeah, of course, we're looking forward, have more stallions KWPN approved and licensed through that selection system. So yeah, we are very thankful towards the input from KWPN the Netherlands for this, so that we can still offer this to our members. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so turn it over to Sandy.
Yeah, we turn it now over to Sandy. Sandy is at home. She was not be able to make it here. So, but hopefully the sound will be good enough. We had a little bit of issues this morning. Hopefully it works out now. So Sandy, you're up now. Thank you.
Okay, so just looking at the final 2023 versus the budget. We always set a budget, and we try to adhere to the budget so we don't go over. Hopefully we go a little under, and this is always good. So we had actually total revenue of $575,917, and we expected in a year-end budget that we created $534,000. So we're actually 108% higher in our revenue compared to the budget. So our expenses, though, unfortunately, were totaled $592 to $788, And compared to the budget, we anticipated 526,872. And that's about 113% of the budget spending. So we weren't very happy, but as I will mention a couple times in this presentation, we paid for our 2022 judges fee in 2023. And we've kind of fixed that now. So the 2023 judges fees were paid this year. And that was over 100,000 for judges fees for the 2 years. Our net income was a loss at 16,872. But we, if I consider that we paid our 2022 judges fee in 2022, we would have had a profit of 34,464. So now I think we're caught up, and we're always going to try to keep our cash basis payments completed by December 31st each year. And the next one, so you guys can hear me then, okay, right? Yes. Caitlin?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Can't get the, where did it go? There we go.
Okay. This is our end of the year comparison to last year, 2023 compared to 2022. Again, we were able to grow registration incomes as well as fundraising. 2023 gross profit was 18.2% increase over 2022. So, and then the Stallion service auction and the silent auction really attributed to that. And we really want to thank our people that worked on both those fundraisers. Expenses in 2023 were quite a bit more than what in 2022 due to the delay in judges payments, and also because of currings, ribbons, and microchips. And that was by 46%, we went over budget. But in 2023, net income was 121% less at 16,872. But again, we should have been 35,464. But I hope you guys all understand that. All financial indications show growth in our organization with the extra revenue we plan to support our currings, AGM, awards, securities, and educational programs. We look forward to continuing these efforts in 2024. Next slide. So just a look at our bank accounts. We did, in 2022, we did decide to separate our accounts a little bit because of banks going under at that time. And we did separate a bit, so we had $709,082 and total 509 in Chase and 2,000 K in CD. Our CDs have started to make, in another account, Fidelity. Our CDs have started to make a little money, not a lot, but at least it's not just sitting there doing zero. December 31st, 2023, our closing balance in 3 separate accounts, because we had to split one of the bigger ones, was $712,817. So our Chase account has 264K. Our CDs are 209,000, so we made 9,000 in CDs in a couple years. That was good. And then 240,000 in a new Bank of America account, just to separate the accounts. So our bank account growth remains positive for the past 4 years. Supporting factors have been, of course, our excellent SSA and silent auctions, as well as our sponsorships. We've had an increase in membership and registration, which was good, and income from the sale of the Oregon office building and elimination of those costs. Next slide, Kelly. So speaking of the sale of Oregon, which we sold in November of 2019, we have the actually brought in $84,975 in those 4 years that we've been doing this, and that's a lot better than having to pay about $5,000 a year to support it, we weren't using it. So our total income from the sale in interest and principal, you can see it there. And the balance that they owe us is $106,794. And this is a 15-year amortized due in 10 from November 2019 and the payoff is in 6 years. So whatever they paid down in 6 years, we've accumulated that, including interest, and then when the payoff is due, they'll have to pay us November of 2019 or 2029. Next slide, Kelly. So just a note, the AGM loses a bit of money every time we hold one, but the sign-up, sponsorships, banquet, auction, and the silent auction that's going to be held in October this year do help us come close to breaking even. So hope you can sponsor and support our auctions whenever possible. Also, the Currings average about a $50,000 loss on average for the past 2 years. We don't want to increase the entry cost, but please make sure to pay at the time you send your entry in. Please pay your membership and registration fees also as soon as you enter. Probably Kelly will have more on that in the subject. And it's very difficult and time consuming to chase payments. Next slide, Kelly.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, no.
Sorry. There you go.
Okay. This is the good news. So now we're all caught up with the judges' curring fees, new and this is 2024, February year to date, and the budget. So we set a new budget this year, and as it is, we're basically at $131,254 in, and that's 23% of our budget, which should only be 17% from a year, and that's a good thing. And we are also at 15% under at our expenditure budget, which was we anticipated be 17% by 2000 by February, end of February. So we're actually doing very well on income, and you can see on the bottom line there at 44,220 that we're up to date. So budgets do work, and we are a nonprofit entity. Breaking even is always the objective, but we do want to use the money that we accumulate to support our membership, and that's what we're trying to do. Budgets are working, and we report the financials every month at the board of directors meeting. And I don't know if there's any questions or if you can ask me questions.
Anybody have
We all
any
good?
questions for Sandy about the treasury report?
Pardon?
Treasurer.
So far, there's no questions.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Sorry I'm not there, but I have obligations here. So.
Great job, Sandy.
Thank you,
Okay.
Sandy.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you.
Worked last summer to help us prepare for the Currings, which helped immensely. Yes, unbelievable. We really, the board was insistent that we, Drew and I were like, we can handle it. But we just couldn't. Yeah, we were wrong. So adding the extra person has been a huge help. We're really trying to stay on top of the phones. And so for the most part, like Gwen said, registration numbers are staying solid, membership is staying solid. Liz Van Worden has been a huge help to us. Thanks to her efforts, our online presence and exposure has increased immensely. One thing that's really important that helps our sponsorships, our newsletter subscription has gone up. And when I first started in 2017, if the software that we use for our newsletters, it gives you like an open rate. And when I first started, it was like 23% out of about 3,800 subscribers. We are now pretty much staying average at 50 to 52% open rate on over 4,000 subscribers. So that's really good exposure for not just us, but for our sponsors, our horses, whenever we, release any news presses like that. It's really helpful, and I completely, she's just all, it's all her. Yeah. One thing, there are some flyers on your table. I don't know how many of you have registered horses. We are offering new microchips now. I think they were presented, last year. They can be temperature read, biothermal microchips. They're provided by Merck. We're not doing the equine ID registration anymore. I contacted them, and I think out of like 4,000 microchips, only about 30, not even 100 people had actually used that. So that was not a good use of our resources there, because we were paying for those registrations. So now the microchip is a little bit more expensive, but with that biothermal technology, you do have to buy the reader from Merck, but not only can you scan to check your microchips, but it will take the temperatures daily, twice daily, for your mares, whatever. So those are the new microchips we're offering now.
But you don't have to buy the scanner from Merck, it's just.
Yes,
How
absolutely.
much more are the microchips, since they're free with our registration currently, right?
They cost us, I think the old microchips, we were paying $5 for the microchip and $10 for the registration. And if we hadn't bought the registration, they would have been $7, and these microchips are $9 or $9.50. Not significant at all. And we kind of did a poll, just asked their membership, and it was, a lot of people were very interested in it. I got a lot of calls at the office of people asking about them. So I know you and I had talked about whether you took your foals temperatures, but did you want to put the microchips in them that early? There's some things, but I think they're 100% worth it, and our membership was grateful that we were doing that.
I think when we do start put the microchips in now as the foals, and they come up to like an FBI level.
Yeah.
And they have to go to a show like here, they already have to, there's an app, they already have to enter the temperatures from the horses for 3 days ahead.
Oh, wow.
So that's already a benefit for the, they can just reach. In the future, it takes a couple of years to have a Grand Prix horse, but sooner or later,
I think the option is old but we're still gonna be
She didn't exactly put the numbers in there, but the board has had me start looking at our accounts receivable, and they have gotten a little out of control. We've been very lenient with registrations and going ahead and sending people their DNA kits and going ahead and sending them microchips, especially towards the end of the year when they're trying to get their USCF lifetime full registration. We started out with about $106,000 of accounts receivable, money that was owed to us. We've been working really hard. Megan's been helping me, Tracy's been helping Sandy. We've got it down to about $56,000, but there are a lot of unfinished registrations out there, unfinished duplicate paper applications, but that we were just trying to be nice and speeding the process along. But from now on, I think you might have noticed in any of our email registry or signatures, going forward, we will not start processing a registration until payment has been received. We won't do anything. So we've gotten some people saying, well, why do I have to pay for this? I haven't received my papers yet. Well, we're not gonna be doing anything. The accounts receivable had just really gotten too high. So, typically if you put either an online registration or send in physically, if you don't include a credit card payment or send in a check, then I send an invoice through QuickBooks Online. It goes to your email. I do know that some people have said it's gone to their junk email. I've tried to, contact them separately, letting them know that, hey, I sent the invoice, check your junk email, because I think the QuickBooks invoices can sometimes go to junk mail, but we've been resending invoices out, trying to clean up all of that AR, and but again, going forward, I think the biggest thing is end of year registrations. I know it's very important to get those USCF lifetime full registrations by the end of the year. Goes up like to $300 if you do it. But again, we will not be putting those in unless payment has been received. So
We're providing a service, and
right.
we need to be paid for the service.
Yeah.
So, just like everything else.
Yeah. So one of the other things is we're actively looking for not sponsors.
We're
Yeah. Hello. We're always looking for suggestions on how to increase our High Point Dutch awards at shows. So if you guys ever have any suggestions of, always suggest to show managers to reach out to us. We're happy to send awards. We want those out there as much as possible. We obviously have a ton of dressage awards that we give out, but not as much in jumping, hunters, eventing, combined driving, anything else. So we're always looking for people to kind of go and nudge their show managers to do that. It's super easy. I do all the work for them, so they can just send me a list of competitors and I'll tell them which ones are eligible.
And
so,
it's free, right?
And it's completely free, and you get a super nice ribbon and a medal and something to take pictures with. You might end up in one of our newsletters or, So just extra advertising for us, if anybody knows any show managers that haven't gotten on board yet, so. That's pretty much it, I think.
Pretty much for any updates. Does anybody have any questions for us? Problems that you've come across that you need us to address?
Don't be shy, now's your chance.
That's what we're here for.
Don't inflate my ego, no.
I will say, just seeing Scott back there, one of the things that we've discussed with the KWPN that has been a hiccup in our processes has been the lag time on the DOC results and PROC results. So we've talked with them. We're going to be working on having a better method and better system to get those results back in a more timely manner. So that is being addressed because I know it's been.
I sent one in July that I still don't know about.
Exactly.
Don't feel bad, I just got mine back.
Yeah, it's been a big problem. We're going to be asking, it's one thing that you all can help do this. A lot of the vets send the links to the x-rays with, they expire in 30 days. What we're going to be asking is asking those vets to send those without the expiration date, because we won't send them over until they get paid for, and then we don't know how long it will be before the KWPN opens them. And that's what's been one of the biggest problems. It's
expiring before they get to view it,
Right.
not downloading it in time.
Yeah, so that, and then downloading them can sometimes, that I've seen, can cause some problems. It's not supposed to, but some
software is just harder than others.
Yeah, basically. So that's something we're due to try and improve that, because I know I'm seeing like 5 of you all that have all been affected by this.
Yeah.
I think that's really about it. So, like I said, if you guys have any questions, Drew and I are always around. If you happen to get Rachel on the phone, she's
not a horse person.
She's not a horse person.
But she's wonderful.
She is wonderful. She did those lovely speaker gift baskets back there. She's really great.
But I am representing the rest of the members committee. I don't know, Kelly, can we go to the next slide? We have, and if you don't know them, please, we all have it on our badge that we're on the members committee. I might ask the people to raise their hand and say hi. That way you can come talk to us. We're eager to hear from you. But we have Carly, who is available on Zoom, and then Cheryl Mayberry, who I don't. She's also on Zoom. Okay, my name is Erica Sense. We also have Lisa Dickman, Anna O'Neill, Shannon, and Renee, who I believe also cannot be with us today. I don't know if they're online quite yet. No? Okay, great. So we are the liaison between you guys, our members, and the organization, and we are your voice. We are your mouthpiece. You tell us, hey, we have a question, we can't figure out something, we have a problem. We will help you guys solve it with our wonderful board and our wonderful office. So in 2023, we had a list of accomplishments. Those being, we have expanded the members committee from 5 to 7 members. This will allow us to accomplish more for all of you. We are all volunteers. We're all doing this because we love the organization, we love the sport, we love the horses, and we want to be able to help you guys as much as possible. And sometimes people have busier breeding seasons, and other times people have, busier summers and falls and horse showing. So this allows us to be able to represent you all as well as we can. We have also updated the bylaws. We've worked really closely with the board of directors. I don't know if we have a copy in anything, just showing those differences. But those are also all voted on at some point.
They are to be voted on.
They are to be voted on? Perfect.
We haven't been yet, but Kelly's in the office is updating that, and we'll send out.
You will see them soon.
They will be coming
Awesome.
out.
And in part of that, we have also helped to institute a new grievance policy. This just helps us all do our jobs better, and it helps the office do their jobs better, and the board of directors do their jobs better in the event something happens. Most of us, hopefully all of us, will never have to deal with that. And then we've also got this great new members podcast. I don't know if you want to come up and talk about it a little bit. You can also talk about it later. We'll plug it at some point, and maybe we can get everybody a link to that to show. Find it on your podcast host.
On
Yeah.
Spotify. If you search KWPN-NA on Spotify, we have them. We've got like 4 or 5 episodes now.
Hopefully,
You'll have
everybody,
more.
if you did not hear that, and you are calling in, Spotify, look it up for KWPN-NA, and you'll be able to find it, and we will continue to share it on our Facebook page and on our socials, and we encourage everybody to also share it as well.
And we will be doing projects throughout the year, interviewing different members and different events, and
Yeah, so, and if you know of anybody who you think would be worthy of the membership to want to hear about what they're doing with their horses, or they're related to sport or breeding somehow, we'd also, again, mouthpiece of you guys. We want to hear from you guys, and we want to know what you guys want to hear from us. On top of that, we have a couple of big projects in 2024. The first one is updating our Hunter Stallion licensing requirements. So last year, it might have even been in the year before, we did go through and make a lot of updates to the hunter sport requirements in general because they were out of date with the levels and the heights that the hunters are currently showing. And so in response to that as well, there are a lot of hunter stallions in our country. We just don't have clear licensing requirements for them. So in order to change that, we are going through, we are working closely with other members in the hunter sport and also our wonderful Dutch representatives to ensure that those requirements are in line with what the market is looking for and able to do. On top of that, we've been reviewing and updating and increasing our awareness of our awards program. So, like was mentioned earlier, the awards that are available for shows, if you know of a show that does not have the awards, the KWPN awards yet, bring it up to them. They're free, they're easy, they're fantastic, and they're a great representative for our breed, and they're wonderful for our owners and our breeders to be able to talk about. Who doesn't love a great award? On top of that, if there's any other awards programs that you have seen work in the past and would like to see us try and replicate, we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to tag me later and say, hey, I have this great idea, and here's my number, or here's my Facebook. I'll message you on Facebook. We do want to hear from you. I can't stress that enough. And then the last one is related to where we are today. The AGM, reviewing the format, increasing our participation in the AGM. This is a decently sized room, and we've got all of the chairs filled, but we'd love to be able to fill 2 times as many rooms of this, right? 4 times as many rooms of this. So coming together and figuring out how can we make that happen? What are the other organizations that are having success in their annual meetings doing? And what should we be doing? Again, yeah.
Hi, I've seen a lot of people going to Holland for the stallion selections, and I would love to have an annual meeting back there and a reason to go back.
We have been talking about that.
Yes,
That is something that is on the docket. So we're not forgetting about that, I promise. But overall, I think a part of that is also increasing how many people can join us. That is not always the most attainable option for everybody, right? Like it's hard to be able to leave and go overseas for a couple of days and make it happen. So how can we also make sure we do something that is inclusive of as many people as possible? The winter is a tough time right now. We're down here, we're showing in Ocala right now. People are starting to full up down here as well, but around the country, like there's a lot of things going on, and it is really hard to stake people down for a day or 2. So figuring out, where is that happy medium? How can we bring as many people together? This is a great networking opportunity, right? It's a great time to make new friends or catch up with old friends you haven't seen in a while. So figuring out how we can increase that participation with our entire membership. So we're excited, we'll share more as we come up with it. Again, please reach out if you have ideas. I seriously can't stress that enough. But yeah, Kelly, is there another set? I don't know if there
I
is.
don't think so, I think that's it.
Awesome, that's all. Any questions that I can answer, feel free to find me. I've been sitting with Drew in the back. I'm on Facebook, Erica Sons. Be happy to chat with you. Awesome, great. Thank you, Erica.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I'd like to introduce the Stallion Committee that's started again. It has been been slow for a couple of years, but a few of the Stallion owners have decided to get together and that we organize some items where we're going to focus on. So I'd like to introduce the committee, and we'll start with Wim Cazemier. Jan Richter. Megan Owen. And Liz van Woerden, she's on the committee. And as secretary we have Anna Biel. And Erin Duffy, but she's not available today, she will hear tomorrow. And then myself. So we have grouped these members up in each discipline. So for the dressage and the horses and the gelders horses, we have Megan Owen and myself. For the harness horses is Wim Cazemier and Erin Duffy. And for the jumping is Jens Richter and Anna Biel. Yeah, and our focus is for this coming year to the NA SST test is something that the KWPN has joined, what we just heard from Wim, and they're excited about it. We ourselves have been involved in it for the last couple of years with Stallions, and I feel that it is a program that has a great chance of survival in this country. Yeah, it's very hard to what we had before, the 100-day test and 60-day test, and each association organizing their own test, and it becomes too expensive and also unpractical. This NA SST test, I think, has the potential of being very successful, also keep the organizations working together, and that we here in the United States have kind of a line where the evaluation is comparable with all other associations. Yeah, so the other thing we like to work on and develop is the Stallion service auction. Obviously we all seen and heard that it was very successful, and we're thankful for the ones who have put it all together. At the same time, I think we need to keep in mind that we need to promote the stallions that are part of the KWPN and stallions that can improve the breeding program for our breeders. So we'll be focusing on that a little bit for the Stallion service auction for next year. Then we like to work a little bit on the IBOP and the DG Bar Cup, and the GES Cup, so that maybe we get a little bit more participation in that and the value of those tests, especially for the young horses and breeders, smaller breeders, to promote selling a horse. You have the ability to show a younger horse with maybe not as much training to go to a horse show, but you can show them in an environment that the horse gets evaluated by the same judges throughout the country, and that you can compare your horse in the same age group, and that your horse is evaluated not so much only on the technical aspect, but more on the natural ability. So with this amount of input and training and everything, you still can get very good promotion for your horse, and that is something that I think could be used more, and so that's where we will try to work on, and that is the same as the Global Equine Sires Cup. It was started with the free jumping, but we like to see that it develops more into horses under saddle, and that it becomes more comparable in age group with the DG Bar Cup, and that these horses also will be presented under saddle. So those are the tasks that we like to work on this coming year, and Also, we'll try to get a little bit more advertising going from the KWPN, KWPN Stallion show. So that is most important things we like to work on. Education is of course always part of each committee, I think, and later on today we'll try to share a little bit our ideas, what we do in selecting a stallion, and we just hope that we're going to get some feedback from you as breeders, what kind of tools you use and what your ideas are in selecting a stallion or what kind of mare you like. So, but that is for later on in the program, I think. So if anybody has any questions about this committee or for any of the committee members, we can do it right now, I think, and otherwise later on. Okay, well, thank you for your attention, and then later on we'll go further with selecting the stallion. Okay, thank you.
More branding. So we've been working with a company out of Kentucky that we're going to be doing a KWPN store front, as opposed to the office keeping all this merchandise in stock. And so we've selected quite a few different items for you, for your kids, for your horses that will be able to be either screen printed or embroidered with our logo. And then you guys can order them through that company store.
Yeah, it's a
Team store, that's the word.
And basically, it's so, there's a whole huge of nice items that you guys can go in and pick at your leisure. Click on it and just order it. You know, I know many of us like to shop, and I do. And it's just a fun thing to do. You can do it anytime, day or night. You just go in and you can get cool KWPN swag. We were hoping to have some of that here today, but she didn't. We ordered it kind of last minute, so we didn't get it on time. But we will be sure to put a link on the website, and Liz can promote it for us. And you'll have more options now as far as getting swag from the office.
I think we picked like some coolers, saddle pads,
sun shirts.
We all like those.
Yeah.
Woohoo! T-shirts, not hats. We don't want to compete with the Anori stuff, but I think, you know, getting some of the things shipped over from the Netherlands is a bit cost prohibitive. So, you know, just kind of nicer, higher, not high end.
And if you see something you like that you would like to have available, you can just send us an email, send us a link, and we can see if the lady can make it available for us. Because she'll add whatever we want, basically.
Yeah, if she can get it through her distributors, I think like backpacks for the horse show. All that sort of stuff. It's a locally based, so it's a U.S. based company. It's a small business. It's THW Monograms. They're out of Lexington. So I think for me it was important that we find like a small business to support that because we're all small businesses, right?
Yeah.
And you know, keep it things that we want to use
And on her website, you can look at other team stores to get ideas, because there's quite a few from schools to events, you know, 3-day event people, jumper people, lots of big barns, there's a whole gamut of people and organizations that do team store thing, and you'll get better ideas. That's, you know, what got me into it, was looking at what people were using.
And it's not a profit center for us. I just like everything is just going to go directly to her. So that being, like I said, because she's small, there's a little longer turnaround time, but it is really nice quality. I ordered all my Christmas gifts for everybody that through her. Everybody was really happy with, you know, the quality of the product, and yeah, it was just it's a nice. I think it's a nice thing for us to have.
Yeah, we will still have the KWPN store as well, but that's a much smaller collection. This way we could add to it. So yeah, and that's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Only around 2000. But I was a groom and a show groom before that. I experienced and saw how necessary was a good horseshoer and a good horse. Why? Because I saw many of my competition horses I take care of was sound on Friday and it was crippled on Monday. So from that experience, I started finding out how can I help these animals? How can I be that person for them? And meanwhile, I practiced, and then I found a person, Matt Myers, out west in Oregon. He worked with a lot of baby horses and a lot of breeding farms. And we did tremendous amount of work. I saw him how he picked up babies from the ground up. And then later on, 2 years later, you see that horse running and jumping and You're like, this was the baby, they couldn't hardly walk. But you get to see the whole package, like you get to see what can you do at the right time, at the right moment for these animals. And, okay, now we can start. So, breeding for good feed, I found that to be really difficult. You want to start, for what I saw, you want to start when your mares, they have good enough feed that is not, a lot of times you get a club-footed horse, and then you find this talented, really spectacular stallion, but a lot of the videos you see, they don't show you the bottom part. And that's why I always say, hey, can you send me a video of that horse walking to me and then walking away from me? Then I told Carly, nah, this one is not good enough. But that's the reason I never choose two problematic footed at the same time. If I have an upright horse, I won't choose a stallion with an upright foot. Even if it was the most spectacular animal, I will choose something else. And since we done that, we got better success on having manageable feed and minimizing the problem in that section. Nutrition is really important. Mares, they have really well nutrition, they have access to a lot of food, and they always very much, you look at them and they're like always fat, ready to feed. They babies grow up to have really strong hoofs. Don't know, I have seen other farms, they don't have so much quality food. They always have, timing on feeding versus like they have food every day, every time, whenever they want it, is a difference. So I have seen difference on that. The other thing that I see is the start when a mare that has good feed. The beginning. The mare is the most important, not the stallion. I have seen more mares when good quality for the stallions. So, healthy foals, like when you foal is healthy and gets up and moves around. And it's the small things that I learned by myself looking at these animals. One of the things that I serve is, and I always aware now, is make sure they can bury as much weight evenly. It's difficult to pay attention to that because you want to make sure they're healthy, they're eating, they're pooping. You overlook the bottom part until like it's a little late, and you're like, well, why I didn't see that? Or why nobody told me? Or why my farrier didn't tell me? Well, it's because sometimes they don't show it to us. There's a baby in the backfield over there, and we didn't see it. So I always tell people that look at your babies when they are. As they growing, just go and pick at them. Just go and walk them, have the farrier come and see them, give you an opinion. What I watch is make sure when you're walking and they are moving, they are bearing as much weight in the front feet evenly. Not one is tiptoeing, not one is landing hard. You want to try that weight to be as even as it can be. Okay.
Next one?
Yes.
Oh,
next.
sorry.
Falls that need intervention. So this one and my own self, we got a baby that we almost called it out. It was gonna be in the back. And I called Matt in Oregon, and he called me back, and I explained the situation. And he was like, no, don't call it out yet. You need to work with these animals. You need to do this, that. You need to trim, you need to put the fall shoes on it. You have about 3 weeks before that horse is done. So you can do it now and work with it. And we did, we worked with it. And it was to see the changing, that's what it pushed me to share with you guys. When you see that changing, you wonder how many other foals you could help and save very much and keep in performance when you have the right tools to help them. When it's just a person that's like, oh, just trim it, it's okay. You know, just leave it, oh, it's not good enough, then that's not the right answer you want. You want someone that can tell you, if we do this and the vet can agree, then you get better outcome. But you have only like, when they have a problem, you have seriously about 2 weeks to decide what you're gonna do with that foal. And if you see babies horses, baby hoof, when you see that foal comes out, just watch that foot, it's like a sponge. And then soon that skin breaks off, in less than 5 minutes, that is hard. That is ready to hold weight, that's ready to move. So it's so fast that we cannot understand how this animal is growing so rapidly. Then is why you need to do these changes, that you need to help them sooner. Because later, when baby horses, later doesn't exist. You're very much done when you have glue shoes, you got extensions that you can do, but everything has to be done at the right time and when the vet helping you, because these are babies, they're not gonna stand quietly. It's a hard job to do. The thing is, the shoe doesn't have to stay on the foal for long periods of time. Is all you need is between 5 days to 10 days to create a positive change. Then it goes back to being barefoot. It goes back, and then you try to maintain it. And if it needs more help, then you add a little more help. But you go in a little bit of pieces. It's not like a horse that we shoe for 5 weeks. No, some of them only need like 5 days, and then the whole animal changes. So that's one thing that we don't understand. It's not a lot of time that we need to do this. It's days, and then you get your foal better. If you see, this is the one that we were calling him out. If you see, was a lot of deviation, a lot of uneven. It was like all the problems that we can engage on a baby horse, half of them are right there. And to show you that we didn't give up, I put glue on shoes with extensions, and then Carly, my wife, kept on taking pictures and kept on looking at the changes that were happening. And that's what I mean, like, it's not a lot of times that you're gonna shoe these horses and keeping them going. It's only the changes are for few days, and then you reevaluate. But a lot of times it's those days. Sometimes the farriers get too busy. And a lot of times, a lot of farriers have not really wanna do this because it's that percentage, so you can do the wrong thing and really hurt the horse. And it's a lot of times that's why they step away from it. But that's the difference between having to do the right thing and then wait and see what happens. Here is we already did the glue-ons for a couple of, like 2 weeks. We took them off, we did it again. And you can see he's already bearing weight evenly. So we left them another week with no shoes. And then we left them a few more months with no shoes, and we continued just trimming them. So it's only the amount of time that we put the glue shoes and the extensions at the right weight that he wanted it. He wanted some support in the outside. So since we did that and we took it out, then he stayed. So go ahead. And the young horses, when everybody asks me when to do young horses' shoes or how we trim it, you want to trim your horse as much little as possible. Like you want to watch him a lot, but you want to touch him a little. Like for us farriers, it's because you want those horses to work for you. You want it to be sound for you. You don't want to hurt him or make him too short, and then especially when you are trying to break him and start him in the program. You don't want that horse to get sore at all. Why? Because he won't go forward, and he won't tolerate the weight of the rider, and he won't agree to work as you want it. And sometimes I see him wear up and try to fight riders, and I say, hey, let's put some shoes on that horse and try him next week. And he's a totally different horse. But they already got him to a point that's painful for him. So you don't want to get to that point. That's my advice to you is don't get to the point that it needs the shoes. He needs to do it before. As the work is starting to increase, then you need to agree if it's gonna get shoes. The shoes that I always use in my young horses, aluminum shoes. Why? Because it's faster, lighter, and if he doesn't travel a little bit straight, it minimizes him from hurting himself and get splints or any of that. And that's 2 or 3 times with that, then you can realize what can you do, what kind of discipline is gonna be. It's gonna be a jumper, a dressage horse. The aluminum is much easier on them when they are young. And the goals and performance is like I always tell people, is not so much to make the horse they have spectacular movements, or make a horse that can do the job, stay sound when the minimum help. Like I like to see a horse that has just plain 4 shoes and is competing Grand Prix level. If you walk in a horse show right now and you find one horse out of 100 that has only plain shoes, because everybody is like, we need to add this, we need to add that, it doesn't perform so well. It's not sometimes the horse, it's like what you do to it. This is why it's not performing well. And it's not gonna be a Grand Prix horse, but it's gonna be a great jumper on a meter 30, then stay there. That's it. You got your horse where you want it, that's all. But sometimes we have the problematic, they are like, they want more and more and more. And like if you have a young horse with problems, I always work with the trainer, the vet, and we train them, they come in a team for the horse. So if the rider is telling me, I can make this horse go forward, and when I'm making a circle, when I'm changing leads, he fights me or tries the stop hold, then I advise me, can we watch the horse go? Can you ride the horse for me? And can you do the movements when you have problems? Then you can see if it's something I can do, or the vet can advise me, oh no, look, it's higher up, it's not in the feet. So you can pinpoint the problems. A lot of times the vets say, oh, it's the feet. Then I show up and I'm like, it's not the feet, it's not sore. But nobody, him or I, look at the horse when you had a problem. When you had a problem riding or trying to train it, and we don't have that moment where we all together, then you're never gonna get your answer. You're always gonna be misguided, or what problem is what you're looking at. And always, like I always told someone, as you own the horse, sometimes just watch your horse walk. Just watch him walk in front of you. Then you can say to me as a farrier, you can say, hey, you trimmed him last time and he was walking different. Then 5 weeks later, he's walking better. What can he be? Can he be like you're trimming him a little too much? And some people get offended, but it's true. If you see a horse walking really powerful, and then I come and I trim it, now that the son is walking like an eggshells, then it's not your horse, it's me. Then I didn't understand that he likes more food under his body. And today is the hardest thing to comply. Like, I have seen people that don't understand why they want these feet to be so small. If they have a 17-hand horse, he needs a big hoof. Okay. And the performance horses now, you have so many things that you can help your animals with. When pads, bar shoes, aluminum shoes. You have every shoe that you can imagine available today. The sad thing, you don't have a lot of farriers that learn how to even make those shoes anymore. So they rely on these companies that make it for us. Lucky for me, I learned to burn my hands and make it myself. But it's a lot of times the most critical part is timing on shoeing your horse. A lot of people think 4 weeks, 5 weeks. My advice is 5 weeks to 5.5 weeks. Why? Because that's the time that the hoof needs to grow like 1/4 inch. On a healthy horse, that's about how much it's gonna grow. So you have that 1/4 inch to use, they move those nails down to create a new graven surface for the whole shoe, rather than just take the shoe off, dust the feet, and nail it back on. All you're doing is destroying your horse's feet. And that's not what you wanna do. When you have problems and you need to put pads, I never throw everything on one problem. I have vets that told me I need bar shoes and pads and gel and this, and I said, okay, how about we start with one thing? Then having the horse perform move. Then we have something that we can say, we did this and it didn't work. Now can we add this? Can we add this? Till you find what it works. But you throw everything and your horse gets sound and now you have a $500 shoe in your job and you're like, okay, why is it so expensive? Well, you put like everything and you only needed a pad. So that's actually the most common problems I have. And I always tell people, be aware. Not because sounds good, it means it's gonna be good. At the end, it's gonna be your pocket and it's gonna be necessary. And if you have a horse to sell, when $500 shoe, I guarantee you'll be a lot of questions asked. When somebody sees that horse with pads and bar shoes and this and that and a special, I guarantee you they're gonna be like 20 questions not necessary. They're gonna say, how long it's been on those shoes? Why? And all you say, well, the vet wanted it, and the farrier did it, and the horse is sound. But why? Nobody knows why, because they all threw just everything they could find to it. And the confirmation issues. Nowadays, really the most problematic horses I see is the ones that have long backs. Once I see an animal with long backs and try to put his legs under his belly to pick up himself, 90% they have suspensory problems. They can engage as well as one is compact and well performed. But it's only the long legs and the uneven length of the legs. Like, it's hard to spot on because sometimes you don't see it till they are like big animals. Now you can truly see it. And I've been encountered for like 10 horses in the past 5 years that they all got lameness issues and they all overlook that he have one leg shorter than the other. And then I finally said, hey, the problem is not the back, it's not the hip, it's not the neck, it's this, the leg, the cannon bone is smaller than the other. And we designed a shoe that left a horse up and it got better. So those small changes are, when you breed it, you want to see the whole package. You want to see, he didn't start like that. Probably the mare or the father has started like that. And over time, nobody realized it because they keep performing and they keep going well, to eventually it becomes a problem. Okay. This is when I said, when you don't have the vet and the farrier at the same time. And the first picture was a horse that has a suspensory pH. You guys are familiar with that. They were calling the horse out, he's done, he can't do anything. The vet ordered a shoe that I made that is next to it. That's the shoe that he ordered to help that horse to stay somewhere in the sound. But the other farrier, that wasn't me, I explained to him what the specifications, and that's what we got. So if you notice, it's not even close to be the same. But that's what you run into when you explain to someone and he doesn't say, I don't know what you're asking, I don't understand, can you help me? And then when the vet goes back and it's like, this is not what I ordered. And then they call me and I'm like, well, I relay the message, but if the person cannot apply it, then it doesn't work. So that's the simplest way that I can put it. Like when you have problems, you have to have the ability to say, hey, you don't fix the problem, you need help, you want to call someone. But it's really hard for farriers to admit they don't know. This day I have met one farriers and they were like, I know what you mean now. If you know why I'm here. If you know what I need to do, why I'm here. And then they start learning. They're like, okay, yeah, I didn't know. Okay, that's much easy. When you don't know, then I can help you. But the last picture was a horse that has chronic heel pain. Chronic, like all his life is gonna have it. And that shoe was designed for a farrier in Indio, California, like in '99. And I thought the man was crazy. And I said, Bob, you're crazy. You lost your mind. You're 65 years old and you've been smoking too much cough. That shoe's not gonna help this animal. And he bet me dinner that night. Well, he didn't only help that horse win his class that night, and I paid for dinner that night. So that's to show you when you have the person that understand the problem and he can apply what it needs to be done to keep the horse sound and pain-free. It looks crazy, but it was sound and it performed for many years with that crazy shoe. And sometimes we rely so much on technology and what helps us, but you need to go back and learn how to do all that stuff because eventually you're gonna do it. And eventually you're gonna find a horse that benefits for that. And to me, that's the best feeling I get when I learn something and I apply it, and then you call me and it's like, the horse is beautiful, nice. We sold him, oh, I win. I'm like, perfect, it's all worth it. This is the one that I was telling you that it has uneven cannon bones. And for many years, it was lame, but it wasn't lame. It just, when his left front foot was growing and it grew so much higher, he looked lame because it was so uneven. So when my mentor Don called me and he said, measure his cannon bones when a tape measure. So I measure it, and I said, we're missing about an 1/8 of an inch. It's like, well, you need to apply a shoe that's 1/4 of an inch thickness. And it's not only a wet shoe, you have to apply more. You have to somehow make the horse even. So we end up, that's the left front at the end. Nothing, just a regular shoe, and that's his problematic foot. And he performed St. George for another 8 years with those crazy shoes. And so you have to just look at the animals and look what you have. And this is another problems that I encountered. This was a broken side bone. The vet said we have to figure out how to stabilize that area and the horse did well, he recuperate. The other one, he kicked the wall so hard he broke his coffin bone. And all these are shoes that you cannot buy, you have to make them. And then the horses will do better. It's just like you go into a doctor and you break your hand, they put a cast on. They don't go to Walmart and get you a brace. And those are at the end, those were Manny's first set of fall shoes. So those shoes were applied like 10 days after he was born. So, and any questions you have, anything You want me to ask, you're free to contact me, send me pictures, and I always help you if I can. So,
Do you do radiographs of your young, like say a foal, if you're trying to shape a hoof in a different direction? How early would you do radiographic intervention to help?
I only have done radiographs around a year and a half to 2 years old.
Okay.
Babies, we haven't done any radiograph because the bone is not fully grown yet. It's like a shadow. I have seen radiographs in hospitals that they take out of babies just for studies. If you see the coffin bone, is not, it looks like a sponge. It hasn't fully calcified. All the bones haven't calcified. All the P1, P2, P3, they haven't calcified. They stay like in a shadowy looking, transparent way. That's why we don't worry too much about it. We worry more about the ligaments, the tendons, and the way that the horse is bearing weight. That's what you're worrying when they're a baby. You want it to start being balanced. You know, and when I mean like watch your horses is when they're growing, you know, they grow up and down. I don't trim the horses when they're growing. I don't trim the side they're growing. So if it's uphill right now, I don't trim the front feet, I just trim the back feet. Because he's bearing weight and he's trying to hold himself when he's doing this. Sometimes he's bearing more weight than that's it. When he's in the front end, I just look at it. If it's chips, I just file the chips off and leave him alone. And that is what I mean. You want to keep him bearing weight evenly, but take consideration that he's changing, his body's changing. And sometimes guys don't look at that, they just go and trim the whole horse, and that's what I mean.
That's what most farmers
So he's not like trying to save money or don't want to do your horse, but it's not necessary.
What sort of trimming interval do you like with foals and yearlings? Normal ones or ones that are upright on one end?
Well, when I mean like when you have a foal that's looking upright and it's looking really upright, like when it's like a little can almost, those you need to put like extensions to get them to bury weight down. So when it's like upright, we use the toe extension on that to push them down. But those are like, when they are babies, you can try to rasp them down you have days till you can create a big change. But it's sometimes hard because a lot of guys that I know, they're like, oh, well, I can't go and trim your baby. It's not, you know, I'm not in your area today, your son. So it's difficult to find a person that understands that you do have time that it can fix it. But it's agreeing with that. Like, yeah, I can stop by and it take me like 5 minutes. And those 5 minutes create a better horse for you. But
normal foal or yearling?
Normal foal or yearling, I just look at them, and if they need to be trimmed, I tell you, and I will say, hey, keep an eye on this one. If you start open up too much, if you start trying to be waist wide or that foot is start going out, let me know, because we can do something about it. But like between 2 months and 2 to 6 months, that's when you can trim a healthy baby, keeping them as straight as you can and do all these little changes.
Yeah, I had thoroughbred foals that I bred, came out and feet are like this,
Yeah.
toed out pretty bad. But one of the things I read from a farrier was that you don't look at the toes. You actually want to stand in front of each foot. And
Yeah.
if the leg lines up with where the toe goes, you don't want to try to turn it in.
No.
You just want to hold the foot up and keep it level.
Yes.
And put it down. And what happens is the foal's chest widens as they grow the first 3, 4, 5 months. And guess what? That pushes the elbows out and turns the toes in. So you don't want to over trim if they toe out, because you can actually create a toe-in horse that wasn't genetically that way.
Yeah, that's why I said you got to find the person that can understand what the problem is, because you can create problems. Yes, it's a lot of times I see they create worse problem than what you started with.
Ones I have not been able to fix is the ones that toe in right away, because it's
Yeah.
hard to turn them out.
It's hard to turn them, and I have seen they still toe in, but we minimize it. And that's one of the things. Be happy with what you got. Like when he's 2 years old, and you're gonna start thinking about getting him under saddle and working him, you don't wanna think about that. You don't wanna think about, oh, I have to keep it straight. The horse is gonna tell you how he travels, and all your job is as a farrier is created to hit that ground evenly as he can, and that rest he can do it himself. The rest he's gonna travel the way he wants to. We cannot control his natural movement. That is impossible.
What recommendations do you do with a horse that has a really wide foot? You just let it be wide, or do you recommend shaping it so it's not so big?
Well, sometimes a lot of people keep the horses thinking the wide foot is the stronger foot, that's what it's gonna be. It's the most buried, that's the one that's gonna bury more weight. So it's the more sensitive foot. Any horse that has the wide foot. I always guide, you look at your hairline. If you have a really wide hairline, the horse has a wide foot. But if your hairline is narrow and your foot is this big, then you have a lot of flair and a lot of foot is not necessarily be there. So the hairline is the one that dictates how big the hoof is. And that's sometimes what a lot of times you leave too much foot, then it start growing and it start expanding, and now they don't realize that you're getting too much foot on a horse. Or now it's flaring now because he's putting too much weight. The foot that he bears more weight is the wider foot. All the horses have a narrow foot and a wider foot, all of them. When we make shoes, it's centimeters, millimeters difference between one another. These barely moments when we have two perfect shoes is not possible. It's not. You have that always thinking about, oh, I'm gonna have a perfect foot. No. Sometimes if you make a horse have perfect feet, it's lame. 90% of the time it's lame.
So would you recommend then putting shoes on a horse that's flaring, or just trim it more often?
If take in consideration how long your trims are and how much that he grew. So if it's in 5 weeks, your horse grew and is so flare out, and then the farrier comes and it looks the same, then it needs to be addressed differently. But if it's trim and it looks better and it's sound, then advice is what you're doing with the horse. If he's getting to be in a train moment, like he's gonna get ready to be getting ready to ride and compete and all that, that's what you're taking advice, like putting the shoes to maintain it for longer period of time, yes. But if he's not working, if he's just still growing, no, putting shoes on, no, just maintain it with a trim over it.
The shape of the foot is genetic, guys, so some of them have very vertical hoof walls, and some of them have hoof walls that slope. The ones that slope out, you need to let them slope out. That's not necessarily a flare, it just means they got a big foot. And somebody totally ruined a horse I sold to him, and I said, she wears a number 2 shoe. Do not try to put her anything smaller, because she was kind of a big-footed horse with flat soles.
Yeah?
They took her, changed her shoeing,
And he's lame.
she was lame for a year before she could grow out a new foot.
Yeah,
So don't change the shape of the foot unless it's,
I have, my job, I have see x-rays of horses, and it surprised me when sometimes it's professionals, they went and did all these degrees and certifications, and And I just look and I say, hey, where the foot went? And they're like, what do you mean? What? I said, you don't have any foot in this horse. That's why it's lame. No, I didn't trim anything. Well, why did you trim? Well, I did this. Well, all that foot is what he needed to be sound. So sometimes I look at the customer and I say, I hope you didn't want to ride this horse for another 2 months, because that's what it's going to take for him to be sound. And, you know, be honest. A long time ago, I used to watch Don telling people how it is, and they were like, oh, Don is mean, he told us all this. But it actually is necessary this time. It's necessary now. Tell someone, hey, you just screw up today. and it's not kindly, but it's necessary because they make so many excuses. And then they go, well, now I need glue on shoes, now I need this. You started when a horse, they have perfectly good feet. You started, you bred that horse, you know that horse, you know his history since he was a baby. And now you're getting all these messages that you sell them a horse is lame, a horse they need a special shoeing. It's nothing you did. It's down the road what they encounter, and down all these new ideas that are up there. But they forget that the horse, bottom line, the horse needs feet to do his job. And just like the old say, no hoof, no horse.
So at what age is it too late to make structural changes?
Really crooked or really uneven, about when they hit 1 year, you very much done with that. Like when you saw that baby we did it in 10 days, then the shoes came off, then we trim it, and I still managed to trim it the whole time. And then now it's as straight as it can be. And we were like, that's why I say, when you see what you can do is great. It's amazing the outcome. But I have seen the wrong things be done too, and it's like, I see performance horses that are like, you could have fixed this when he was 10 months old. But, so but they're still performing and doing their job the best that they could.
I've been told with club-footed feet that you need to do it sometime between early weaning and 6 months if you're gonna do the correction with the change.
Yes, and like when club feet is tricky, because like I say, if the father and the mother both has club feet, you're gonna end up with one. If either one don't have it, then chances are you can fix it and end up with an upright foot, which is better than a club foot. But an upright foot can appear to the wrong managed trimming and shoeing like a club foot. Yes, it can be. If the person don't understand that, then it can be looking horrible, and it's not necessarily what it's supposed to look like. But it's always look at it. My advice is always keep an eye on your horses. Don't be afraid to question the farrier you have. Ask him point blank, can we do anything about this horse, or we need someone that can help us? And it's not, like I say, I call my mentors. I say, what did I do with this? I don't know. And they're telling me that, don't you remember? I'll be calling you if I remember. So, and sometimes that's the problem, if nobody reach out to say, hey, I have this problem, how can we fix it? So.
What about the different footings? A lot of places are going to synthetic footings now versus the sand. And I find that some synthetic footings pack in the horse's feet, and if the horse has a sensitive sole, it will make them a little bit sore.
Yes, there's a lot of times the thin sole horses, they have problems with when the different footings. Like going from your house, there has a footing the horse always been worked on.
Yeah.
Then you go to a venue, who knows what they have. Everybody is different these days. Everybody tells you they have the highest and the best.
But I've noticed some of the synthetic footings
And they do pack, different ones they do pack, and some of them harder than others. And that makes them, some of them a little sore, yes.
I've noticed that. We spray a smoke with Cam.
Yeah.
And just before it goes in the ring, you spray it, and then it just keeps it from packing. But, it's just kind of backside horses.
Yeah,
Problem.
it's always a problem.
Sand is good.
The simple, the simple arena, the simple, I have seen horses working really nicely on just grass field. And then they bring into an arena and it's like, not the same horse that you saw over there. And what did I tell you? Sometimes we create and all this, we think like they're gonna like it. We think horses live in the wild, they live in rocks, they live.
Yeah, so that's what I've noticed a little bit.
We just a little too much, I think. It's getting out of control when I love technology and I love all this, but it's getting frightening. The knowledge that we have from the animals is not there. Like, we are getting more trouble. You have more horses hurt on these arenas. You got more injuries than used to happen. So you have a lot different.
Yeah. That's what I started to realize.
Anything else? Anybody have any more questions?
What kind of continue with what Anna said, like, do you see with the newer synthetics, since a lot of them are really grippier, they don't have as much give in them, do you see that like messing up your shoe jobs a little, where it's like the shoes are moving a little bit around on their feet, or is it just like hoof concussion is the main issue?
The main problem I see is the hoof concussion, like when they pack the ball up, because now the horse is not landing flat, it's landing in that ball there. And it's not like ideal for them. When they hit the ground, they're supposed to sink a little bit, not float. So that's what we see is a lot of the times you see them skip and floating. And everybody has different ways to deal with it. Some people put like a little traction studs, and it's like, that arena is supposed to be the best of the best. Why you need traction studs on it? So, it's all over different scenarios, but yes, the footing is a lot, it has changed a lot. And everybody has different ideas and all. That's why I say it's frightening what we see now in technology. Everybody comes with new shoes, new pads, new saddles, new bits, new everything. And that's frightening, but that's what it's heading to. So, already, thank you very much.
If you were here when I was here last time, when I was at the board from the KWPN, and I spoke for North America, but that's already some years ago, probably 15 years ago. Again, thank you for the invitation. I'd like to tell you a little bit about the history from our farm and what we are doing. Paul Hendrix was started by my father in the 60s, 70s, and there was a wonder horse in these days. It was called Rex the Robber. And my father had a farm, a dairy farmer, and he became partner in that horse. And that horse was at that time the most winning jumping horse in the world. And Alvin Schockemüller rode it, and I think it was sold in the 60s. Back then for 300,000 D-mark. Yeah, what would that be today? I don't know, but an equivalent of that. Anyway, and that my father was keen to go into the jumpers and the trade from horses. He did always trade on the side. My brother was a very talented rider, Emil. He competed at many occasions for the Dutch team. He was at Atlanta Olympics with a very good Dutch mare called Finesse. And that brought us together. My riding career was not as long and I was not as talented as my brother, but I had the business skills to set that business up with my brother, and still today It's a big family business. We have four, let me say, 5 locations where we work from, and the children joined us now also in the business. Emile with the son, Timothy, and we have our daughter Janou and Michel. And I have to say, Michel and Tim were both also Nation Cup riders. They present for the Netherlands, Dublin, Hickstead, and more occasions. But they also know more to the managing side. Our whole operation, I think we employ over 30, 35 people. So as you understand, there is pressure. Horses have to be produced, horses has to be sold, and yeah, that's what we do. I started the export from horses, and I just told it to the Dutch guys, in 81. And through a Mexican connection, I started in the West Coast. There was a guy called Larry Mayfield, everybody else knows him, and he came to Holland in 81, and he bought 3 horses. And it was pioneering back then, also to the States. And he asked me, he liked more horses, but he had only a budget for 3. And then I called KLM. I said, how are we going to ship these horses? I knew they were flying. And said, how many horses can be on that plane? Sir, he said, you don't have that many what we can put on that plane. And we as a family, we put 6 more on the plane. And I flew behind the horses. I went to San Francisco, Cow Palace, I never forget. And there was still rodeo in these days, and there were 1 or 2 jumping classes a night. And 10 days later, all these 9 horses were sold. The guy was very happy, and the new market came for us. I looked into different markets. I looked into the Russian market in the 90s, and I've been to a little bit selling to the Arabic countries. But other than Europe, I have to say North America is my favorite market, and we're still very active on this market. And why? Because you're all horse lovers, and you try to always find compromises with horses. And it's not a macho sport, what it is in some parts of the world, it is for sure. And it was always, I found it, if you sold the right horses, and you were correct in what you said and what you delivered, there was always a very good key for success. But as the success not came, there was always a way to solve things. And that's why we still active in America. We love the American market. We have a partner in Ocala and in New Jersey. It's called Emil Spadone, where we do the auction with together on Friday night. We always have 30, 40 horses standing there to get sold, and we send them, and then later we do the finishing touch. It works good for us, and if you see 924, 81, 43 years, that's not so bad, that we're still around. What was very important for us to get also a bigger spread on the market, it was here to sell the good horses to the best riders in the beginning. And our luck was that my brother, when he was competing in Calgary, he ran into Ian Miller, and I just checked it this morning. Ian rode 6 Olympics with horses we found for him, and we were very proud of that. And the first one was Big Ben, who was the best, still for Ian, and he's in the Hall of Fame, Canada, I think. So that also created us a great podium on the Canadian market, and we are still very good friends. Although he's no chef, but the children still come to us and buy horses with us. Then in the late 80s, there was a girl coming from Cape Bonga's. Bonga's, the name says it, is Dutch origin. And the father called me, and he'd never been to Holland. He was born and raised here. He said, I want to have a good Dutch horse for my daughter. I sent her over with the trainer. I said, that's good. And that trainer was Laura Kraut, and she was in the beginning from her career. She was living still in the Midwest. And yeah, the rest is history. Also with Laura, I think we had 3 or 4 horses on the Olympics. The first one was the Dutch mare by Libero and now Liberty. And then later came Cedric, the Dutch boy horse, Anthem, and now the horse she rode at the Pan Americans, Dorado, was found also by my brother. Unfortunately, it was not found in Holland. It is a German horse, but yeah, sometimes you have that. You should let that go if you want to have success with the best riders. So, as you understand, that are nice people to have, and you have you have a reaction on that, and that's where we sell a lot of horses to amateurs. By these people, we learn the market very well, and yeah, that's part of our success now. I would say 50% we sell jumpers to America, but the other 50% is hunters or equitation who became big in the market. And after these 40 years, you learn this market, and yeah, you try to also see these horses in Europe and you know, pick them out and then bring them to the right persons here. Other than North America, we sell also quite a few horses in Europe. We do a lot in the Scandinavian countries. Finland is a very good country for us. Sweden we buy, Denmark less, but we sell and buy a little bit in Denmark, but in Sweden we sell more and we buy more. And then, you know, that goes down if you come in Holland to the southern countries. We are still lucky that the production from these jumpers and these equitation horses, other than you guys, has to come from 4 countries in Europe, mainly that's Germany, Belgium, France, and Holland. Okay, the England and Ireland, the number, what they do is not as big as these other countries. So I see still a future for our business, that as long as the production stay on that side of the ocean, that we can sell to your market. And for sure, you guys, you're mostly breeders, you fill it up also from this side, but as we all know, America is huge, and there's a place for all of us. So we still see and think that the American market, and okay, we know economics has to be good. We went all, in these 40 years, we had also these waves, but we think that this American market will be one of the biggest markets in horse business and in horse sport for a little while. The same problem what you have in America, and I like to have some input from you guys as well, is that the sport becomes expensive. And that's the same for us raising horses and get these horses ready before they can come to America. The cost, especially after COVID, went up. And that's a little bit a downside. We think a lot about it. And I will be later talking about that. We bring also a lot of these young horses to the eastern countries to get them for a better price, to let them grow up and get them broken. But also when I see here in America on the shows, and I have a friend of me with me, and you know, he's not in the horse business so involved, he says, Paul, one thing I know, you know, it costs a lot of money for these fathers and mothers to do this. And yeah, that's a little bit, you know, and we cannot change that today here in this room, but that's a little bit what scares me is not the word, but that's concerns. When I started in the 80s and the 90s, you had a system, and Wim and Willie will know this very well. There were a lot of local, rural shows we founded. Breeders would ride their horses in the off-season, that they had less work on the farms, to shows. And that was our pound to fish, to find these horses. What could be better for the American market or could do top sport. And that's what we did in the 80s and 90s a lot. And we had scouts everywhere, in Germany, Belgium and Holland, to find these horses for us so we could export them to the United States or wherever. I have to say internet changed that world completely. When internet came around 2000, I have to say the world became one big town. And these farmers didn't need me anymore to find the spots for the horses. They could do that themselves till a certain level. And for sure, the sport became bigger and bigger, and there was also more competition in finding these horses. And that's where I decided I start to breed them, because if I can't buy them, I have to make sure that I can keep the business running, and we have to start breeding. And as you know, now we come to the most difficult chapter from horses, is breeding, because we have all big expectations. From every foal what gets born, we think we do the right decisions, the right father, the right mother. And it was late 90s when I started to buy these good Grand Prix mares who were successful. Liberty from Ocala was one, but there were several at the time. What I brought back to Holland, and I started breeding them. And I have to tell you, the success was divided. It was not always what I hoped, because I thought, hey, this Grand Prix mare, Libero, Nimedor, Le Faquet, the best sires. And I bring it with a good stallion in Europe, and I will be the macho man. But that was not true. The success was divided. And I learned, and it took me, to be honest, 15 to 20 years till I knew which mares I needed, which lines were strong, and which lines I should continue with, and where I should stop with. And that was sometimes with pain in my heart, because there were fantastic pedigrees, and there were horses with great results. But yeah, you have to be special in the numbers. What we are doing, you have to be very strong to yourself, and that you say, hey, if it is not good enough, you give it a second chance, but then it has to be good enough. It has to live the standard. Now we breed with a couple of 30 mares, and from these 30 mares, I think 25 are embryos. And what I do, my best 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old jumpers, I try to do embryos. There's not a lot of stress of these horses, because we bring them very slowly, and I try to take the good embryos out, because I learned from the race world, and if you be in Ocala, you can't be not around thoroughbred horses and racing, that the best foals were often the second, third, and fourth foal. It's not written in stone, everybody says, but it is correct. And then also young mares. And I cannot explain you this, and I'm not going to say it's only the young mares who make the best ones, but it is a fact that a lot of young, the first 5 foals oft are the best foals of the mares. That's what I learned. So 30 foals was not enough, because we want to keep it open wider, because we're going to select. So what we do, and that we do for 20 years, we had in 1 year 120, 150 foals, but now we're back to 80, 90 foals. We know the dam lines where we want to buy from, and as you understand, if you get foals and you get also good conformation horses with great ability for sport, and you select, you're also going to get stallions. Now, that was the last chapter to our Paul Hendrix. At the beginning, when Wim said that he had that stallion Pierrot, that was maybe one of our first, and I didn't stand stallions back then. That's what we did later. I was very lucky to have a stallion called Bestique. He's by a doctor. I sold him as a jumper to the States. He got injured, and the people gave me a chance to buy him back. And now with Beauville from Michael van der Vleuten, one of the most winning horses in the world, that's great advertisement. And we just got a good Conan stallion approved called Cape Coral. We have some good young stallions, and one of them I want to call that name as Lambada Sheikh. He's by Aganix, and I have to say he could be special, and he could be the next one who makes that extra step. Why 90-80 falls? Our goal is to, after the first election, and that's what you want to hear a little bit of me, how do I start to select these horses? We buy 80-90 foals where we think all top pedigrees. And we start to jump them during this time of year as a yearling. Why you do that so early? Because we have that many numbers and we need to be selective. And I'm not going to say that you guys have to start this, because if I would have 3-4 horses, maybe I would start it with the age of 3. We start to jump these yearlings, very small jump. We do 3 days in a row. If some has to feel not relaxed, they have to jump 4 times in a week. We don't jump them bigger than this, and we give them quotes for the model, for the balance, and for the technique on the jump, and for the attitude. And all these things together makes us decide if we're going to keep it, yes or no. And how many percent of these yearlings who are not continue to be part of us is very little. I would say 4 or 5%, 5%. And that comes to 5 foals. And you know, that's one who has a crooked foot. Maybe I missed it as a foal, or is not nice in the back, or for one other reason. So that percentage is very little. Then, you know, I'm back to 80, and then there are always 15, 20 where you doubt. And there are 2 things where you doubt them. The performance they showed you as a yearling in that indoor. It's very important that it happens on a very relaxed way, that these horses feel themselves confidence. And secondly, you see the total picture, and there are 15, 20 who go on the reserve list. And what means a reserve list means they go to a special field, a different field, and they come back in October in the fall, and then we jump them again for a week, and then you will see from the 15, 20, 5, hey, you think that's the standard what I want to see. The other 10 cannot prove that, and they will be sold. So if I have 85 and I sell 15, so go back with 70, some injuries, whatever. So when they get 3, we have 60 left. We start to X-ray them. The stallions we start to X-ray a year before, but from a group from 60, I have maybe 10 stallion prospects, and at the end of the day, I go with 3-4 to the stallion show. The other ones get X-rayed when they're 3. Now, as you know, that's also sometimes disappointment, even if you think you know everything, but then you find out you didn't know everything. I'll be very honest with you. I take the ships out. I talk with my vets, and people say, Paul, that has to be killing that they're OCDs. And I have a Dutch saying, and I don't know if it works well in America. I said, as long as I not can find that ship that I can learn them to jump, I take better these ships out. Because these horses, they jump in a better way, and when you do it early enough in life, then they have time to grow, and then it never will bother them in the rest of my life. From these horses I just called you, from these superstars, 5 out of 10, they had vetting issues. They were clinical, very sound, but the mindset from the horse makes the quality horse. It's not the X-ray. But we have to deal with it, but okay, we try to clean it as good, and then these horses will be also useful to put them in the sale market. As I said, the 2 years old we do earlier. My vets are not so keen to take them chips out under 2. because they say still a lot can be changed. You should leave that body alone, and then you do it as a 3-year-old. And so far that's good. They have another year to go in the fields, and they go out of it. 10 stallions, I said that. Then when they're 3, I have 60, and we said to ourselves we're going to ride every year new group, and that's going to be around 40, 50 horses. So they are, and these are the better ones, because we select them on jumping, we select them on models, and they have all good pedigrees. There are almost no bad pedigrees anymore. And then we say we're going to auction 15, 20. People like to buy horses. We have as a mark HX behind our horses if they're homebred, and people have good experience with that for the jumper business. And I have to say our auctions for 3 years old is mostly held in December. They go online. I have to say so far it's good. You have reasonable prices. Listen, they go from 15 to 50 in that auction, and I think that's a reasonable price. You know, they should be not overpriced. These other 40 we're going to ride. As I said before, the Netherlands is also getting expensive to get these horses broken and to start. So we have people in Hungary where we work with for 10 years and people in Poland for 15 years. There they go. The prices are better there. We do that breaking without any stress. We leave them 6 months there. Then they come back to Holland. The ones who are disappointed, what still can happen, they're going to be sold, and the other ones, they go back in the field for another 6 months, and then as a 5-year-old we pick them up, and then we have a full year for them, you know, that they should show, okay, small horse shows, not the biggest, but then we work harder with them. As a 4-year-old we're quite mild. In the old days we did more with the 4-year-old, but we also see people who like to buy horses, they like to buy older these days than in the old days. It was easier to sell a 4 or 5-year-old. Now with the hunter market it doesn't make a big difference, but the jumper people, they want mileage, they prefer an older horse. Maybe you would think, and I have to come back to that, why I select everything as a yearling. And I had people who work for Paul Schockemüller, and they said you should say it to Paul Schockemüller because he starts to select as 2 years old. And I think everything what I can see in a horse, I can see as a yearling as well. And I'm not going to say if he's going to jump the Olympics or he's going to jump a Grand Prix, but the basics you can see. That canter is there, and that doesn't change so much over the first 3 years. The canter is there, the balance is there, and the reflex of the ground is also there. So what I can find out for a business case as earlier as necessary, I do it that way, and that's why I do it with yearlings. Although I understand for private people with 5 or 6 horses, that's not so easy, but with the numbers we do, I really like to do it that way. That was a little bit what we are doing. We're showing also, we have an auction in Ocala. We had, as I said before, 2 of the children were showing up Grand Prix level. We just hired now a new rider from Italy. He was champion there. He was champion of the seniors last year. He rides one of our stallions. He started now full-time with us. We think to have the connection with the sport for these extra horses, we need also to be active on the 4 or 5 levels, 5-star, 4-star level. And that's really what we try to do as a business, as a brand, that we be there in the middle. And I think you have to be there to be very alert what you need for the sport, because you can see it there, and also to make the connections. I would like to get some interaction from you, ladies and gentlemen, with some questions, and then it is going to be, I think, even better. This was a little bit my story. This is a little bit what we do, and thank you for your attention for the last 15 minutes. Thank you. Oh, so clear that, please.
When you build them,
They are little mares, so you decide.
I yelled them also as young. Only like from that whole group, 80, 90, 10 stay stallion, because then I think you have the presence as a stallion. They have all the pedigree to be a stallion. And I said that also in Holland on, where we got together. I said they have all the pedigrees, there are no bad pedigrees anymore. But a stallion also has to stand out in the group. He has to have that expression to be a father, and then that is very important for me. For some people, is it less important, but I think they're coming back to it. And actually, now I go different direction. I was at OBS today, seeing the race horses sold, and the first thing what I said to my son, I said I was here 10 years ago, and they look way more to conformation and models than they did 10 years ago. So, like I said, a stallion has to stand out. If they are not, I geld them as a yearling. Sometimes, 5 years later, I said, oh, I gelded that one too early. But the other 45, they were gelded at the time.
Hi, I'm not sure if the question, you reminded me of a question I had. So taking chips out, are they still eligible to go to the KWPN Stallion selections?
No, but these are also only horses who can go for the sport. Or, on certain parts, and now I need help. The ankles that can be removed and still can be able then to be a stallion. But in the hocks not. And now I look to hocks and stifles we don't allow. But on the ankle, en dat could be, hoe noem je dat, omgeving. Ja, maar ook omgeving dat gebeurt. Ja,
okay, could be like a growing up.
But in the stifle or in the hock, that would be say something more about the horse. So there, not. But our horses in the top sport will be operated on stifles. Stifles scares me a little bit more than hocks. But with hocks, when you take them out as a 3-year-old with a 5-year-old, 99% no problems.
When you're at Emil's, ask him to show you the horse that we bred that we're in partnerships with, Rockstar, who was the top yearling jumper in the country here. So maybe you could see him.
Where is he?
At Emil's Bedone, Redfield Park.
Oh, Rockstar.
Yeah,
you know what? I saw him.
Oh, you did?
He's proud of him to have him because he's the Tangelo.
He's the what?
Is he by Tangelo?
Yes, he's Tangelo Diamant, Baloo.
Absolutely, a liver chestnut.
He's actually dark bay, very tall.
Yeah, but okay, I looked at him and I saw. I was in his barn, in his box yesterday, and Amy liked him. I liked the model, and he was very high on him. Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Are there any qualities that you find in young horses that you are later train outable, or traits that you say you've seen it when it's young and it stays that way throughout sport, or certain traits that you can train out?
Yeah, you have to look at conformation. You have to know your bloodlines. But for sure, when you start to work them and you start to ask certain things from them, and if that body-wise is going to hurt, you're going to get reaction, and they don't do what you want them to do. Yes, you know the bloodlines where there's more risk and then the other. There are stallions in the Netherlands who are very capable and make fantastic offspring, where you know a little bit, it could be on the edge, but still, like I said, if they have the ability, you like to work with them, but you're aware of it and you go slowly and then you try to get the best out of them.
That actually, basically wanted to ask you how you look at mind. How do you judge that in the young horses? Can you talk more about that?
As you heard, I start the beginning of this that I really look into dam lines, because that's the information what I should get. If I know this dam line brought horses who are adjustable for the sport and who are willing to work for you and would do that extra step, that's my first selection. So I like to come to pass that, that I'm not walking into these horses. And yeah, for sure, if you have 80, 90, there's one disappointed and one proves himself up. But The dam line, and that's, you know, it's, we call about exterior, that's how we look from the outside to a horse, but the interior, the inside is way more important. But only by performance you can tell they're willing to work. And that's how we select and how we buy foals. Like I said a couple of times, the names on the papers, they're always good, but you know, hey, this dam line. Actually, I had today a horse here at the auction. I think it will be one of the better sales in the auction. And if I say to him, it comes from the north, the Oberliner line. Haseberg, yeah, he knows the breeder straight away. That these horses, they have the willingness to do sport.
40 years ago, they were already producing.
Yeah, Queen of Diamonds who won Grand Prix of Rome. But that's always what you see back, and that's why we always say to everybody, look at the dam lines, look at the dam lines.
Do you do radiographs on the neck and the back on your young horses, or at what point is that important because it's becoming so much a part of selling in our industry?
Absolutely, and I'm not agreeing with the doctors so far. The affection of the, and you say very correctly, most of my deals go wrong on neck and back because we never x-rayed them before. I'm 65. I did 40 years buying horses and Olympic horses without doing back and neck, and now we have to do every single horse. If it is $10,000 or it's $1 million. The thing is, we don't know enough about it. And things you don't know enough about, you get scared from. And they said, no, because he could be wobbly, or he could be dead. For sure, extra bad in the back or in the neck, yeah, we all see that can be on the side. But you know, when a little attachment is in the back, I walk away, it doesn't scare me at all. But yeah, some vets, they threw them out. And it's definitely an issue, and I was thinking the other day, what still can we x-ray of a horse? Huh? We do the ankles, we do the feet, we do the stifles, we do the back, we do the neck, the front knees sometimes. Yeah, we could start to x-ray the head. But you have to deal with it. And I think when we 10 years further, the doctors know what it brought, and what then I think they will get milder about it. But for the first beginning, we have to deal with it. And the only thing what I do, give guarantees. And where I don't agree, and I think Willie and Wim also would not, they agree with me, where I don't agree, they say, oh, he can be wobbly, you know, because this neck x-ray is a little bit like that. We get horses wobbly when they were 2 or 3 in the fields. Then it's when it happens. But when you start to ride them 5 till 15, or there has to be another sickness coming to the horse. But I never saw a sound horse get wobbly or losing track because of the x-rays.
Most of a growing thing.
It's most of a growing. How many times we not came in the field with him and that we saw a super 2-year-old or yearling, and you see straight away he's wobbly. I gotta do now more the neck and the back, even if they gotta put down, but I wanna know if it is, the connection is there. I never did that in the past.
At what age do you do your x-rays then?
Yeah, like I said, with the mares, 3 years old, and I'm still a bit old-fashioned, and my boy is telling me to go different. The neck and back I do only when they get 4, they get back, because when I like to keep them longer. And but now, yeah, like you said, every single horse back and neck.
Have you found any connection as far as genetics with this big deal about the about the neck, the cervical 4 and 5?
I will say 6, 7. I see 6, 7. Yeah, that's 9 out of 10 horses. Yeah, like we said, we never did it in the past. And you know, maybe Big Ben, maybe Anthem, they had also bad neck. We don't know. Now it became fashion, and sorry for the word, I think it's a fashion. And 10 years from now, I hope that I can come and talk again here, and hopefully then we can discuss that it was a storm in a glass of water. That's what I hope.
I don't think it's as prevalent in jumper supple movement and neck issues. And I think that you're not really gonna see it in the jumper world because you weren't selecting for that movement. You wanted efficient movement, ground covering movement. You're not breeding for the same things we are.
Probably the position of a jumper is different than, yeah, exactly.
As a dressage breeder, well, representing one, we see it a lot, and we, some of our top foals we've had who are amazing movers ended up with a neck problem that we had to euthanize.
And did they become wobbly?
Yeah.
And what age?
And some of the worst ones we saw as a yearling. Yeah, and I mean, these were they were great as a foal, and then all of a sudden they start progressing quickly. And you definitely see it.
Yeah, but that's what I said.
You're saying as youngsters.
Yeah, but you said yearling, but yeah, you see it awfully as yearling, 2-year-old, 3-year-old in the field. I hardly saw a 5 or 6-year-old becoming wobbly, or there has to be something with the nerves. But that's
Right, or maybe they got injured, but I think that sometimes it gets overlooked in yearlings and stuff. It's not till you start riding them that the rider starts saying, hey, this is weird, or the horse it's not moving its hind legs right. But a lot of amateur breeders, they see the babies running around and they don't realize that they're moving strangely. They just think that it's a pretty big movement.
What I always tell to the people, also with foals, if they start to do this with their tail behind, that's the moment where it's starting, and then they overpowering themselves, but then if that tail is going to do that, and if they don't give you that pushback in that tail, it's not always a guarantee, but that's a sign.
Right. I just think it gets overlooked, and a lot of times over here doesn't get diagnosed until they start under saddle, because people don't know what they're seeing. They just think it's pretty.
Megan, you see so you're correlating it with elasticity and
Someone is, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you read about it, they'll tell you about it.
Correlated with elasticity, you know, the really loose bodied horses are more likely?
No. But the ones who move that extravagant, that's where it starts.
Yeah.
So do we see that in the harness horses? They move pretty big, right?
It's different.
It's different. But the big thing is how you can notice it. When a horse should move, even if it walks away, it should lift up the tail a little bit. You should look underneath the tail in every step. But if a horse is like this, it's like.
Or if they hold the tail to one side, or they're just a little strange with the tail.
Especially when they kind of.
Yeah.
It's kind of that way of movement that really should give you a fall.
But it's more dressage horses, but if you research it and look at it, and sometimes it just gets overlooked. And I won't say that there's never an older horse that it doesn't happen to, but I think that's also, maybe the horse wasn't being put under pressure, or being asked to come on the bit, and sometimes it isn't until the horse really starts getting put into training that you see it. But I mean, unfortunately, we see a lot. And maybe we're too strict about it. We're too worried about liability and somebody, getting hurt because of the horse.
Breeders did not need any other reason not to be able to, for people to worry and have to worry or to not make a sale, right?
I hear, Paul, you do the young mares when you still you think they have potential and you have studied the bloodlines for years, you probably haven't had the mother and the grandmother. You want to keep something out of that program.
Yeah.
You do embryos before they sell.
Yeah.
What is the thoughts on ICSI? I see a lot of concerns there when I look at horse sales sometimes, and especially those who Belgian breeders, they register 15, 20 foals out of one mare 1 year.
Yeah, you go first. You go back in the time. Most of the time are old mares. I know from VDL that they tried it with some sport mares and they say no because it's quite heavy on them. What you see that commercial breeding, what happens in Europe, that they do ICSI, and then they go on the market, and these people think I bought the only embryo, the best combination in the world. And then you find out there are 10 full brothers. And this is overdone the way I say it now. I do ICSI with 2 mares. And they are very good Compris horses, and they gave me good horses. And because I would like to have some fillies out of them, what's not a guarantee, And for now, I have 2 mares where I do ICSI with, but you know, I flush them once a year. It's not, I'm not going to use them as machines, you know. No, but what you see, and what you see go down in Europe especially, is the prices of the embryos, and because people get fooled, you know. And I would say to everybody, okay, there can be a special occasion, but 90% try to see the foal before you buy.
You said that often that the second, third, or fourth full out of a mare is usually the best. How does that apply with maybe when you're doing ICSI?
No, that's correct, and there's also a lot of disappointment, and exactly because of that. But it's not written in stone, like I said. You know better the story. What was that chestnut song about Stallion? Secretariat.
Yeah.
And you know, did you see the movie? Yeah. Then the pig from the owner from the Stallion was Secretariat because the other foal from that Stallion was a second, third foal, and they kept that. And the other one they sold, and Secretariat was history. So it is not always true what I'm telling, and Secretariat came out of an old mare. That's what I try to say. Yeah, you see, you like to have that special combination, but what I see, I would say scoring 20-25% really successful. And with younger mares, I have more success. And where I don't have the knowledge, that's not the right word to know. Where I find it out is in the race world. They kept track on it, and they say with these race horses, the second, third, and fourth foal are the best runners. Okay, it's a different sport than us, but still, you know, we want the best as well. And I'm not going to say this is what it is, but yeah, Secretariat proved it totally the other way around.
What do you think about those modern stallions where they all of a sudden get like 1,000 mares in Europe, and the other ones, they're really good, but they only maybe get 60 mares a year and producing so much nicer? Should there be a better evaluation process on the end if they shift over to those stallions? They're not getting so many, but they're producing nicer. Should there be from the Verbands organizations anything that shows more what they produce and how they produce, and to guide the breeders a little bit, because everybody runs the same stallion?
No, exactly. I hear you totally, and that's not good. And Ralph can tell you a little bit more about that. We do now these rankings from these best horses, but like you say, a stallion who had 500 mares has more chance to get some good horses than a stallion who get 50 mares and a Stand Grand Prix horse. We didn't, and Ralph, I look to you, we didn't rank them so far to the numbers of on the ground, but they're going to do that in the future. They try to change that so that you say that you get also a different outcome. Because now with the stallion, and we're not going to use names here today, but the stallion who has 1,000 mares, yeah, for sure, there's a chance that you have some good ones. It's better this. But now we have to find that stallion, like you say, what is with 50 offspring, who can compete with that one with 1,000. And that we have to put up front, because we should use that one more, and the other one slowly.
Should be limited some stallions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's difficult, as you know, and you have a German accent.
His name is Hans.
We know our friend Paul Schockmüller. How can we limit him? That's not so easy, huh? And I think Paul is one of the guys who sends the semen all over the world, and the stallions are very popular. And it's not so easy. I don't know if we're working on things like that, but the freedom. I know by the KWPN, but now I talk about 20 years ago, we were afraid when Nemedor, in his good years, or in doctor had 300 mares, it was scary, this is going wrong. And then we said at the board, we can't stop that, because if we say as KWPN, you can use 300 mares, 150, and then, like you said, then you get an effect that other stallions get more chances. Then they go to Oldenburg or Hanover with their stallion as well, and they get also approved there, and they can go under that name, they can cover. It's not as easy as we thought it was to limit them, but I think for the World Breeding Federation, there's a lot of work to do in the next years, and that we all get that better organized. I totally agree with you.
How much emphasis do you put on our tools we have through KWPN and the linear score sheets and if a horse is done past IBOC? You originally said, if I understood correctly, your sport horses were the ones you bred because they had showed the talent, and then as your programs develop, you're looking a little more maybe at conformation and character and things like that. Is that true, or is it solely sport and you breed because all the pedigrees are?
No, because you're correct the way you say. And why I like to have a good conformation, we want to stay away from that vet. And everything what is not correct in a horse, it's gonna work the wrong way. Huh? This is a too short leg, or is it a too short neck, or the horse is crooked in front. That's why conformation for me is very important. Even I go with sport lines, but I like to keep a good conformation. The other question you had, is EBOB important? I don't think I go with my mares to EBOB because I think with the numbers I have and with the experience I have, I can almost say what they're going to be. But for these breeders who don't have the comparison like we have, their EBOB is perfect because they are good judges and they tell you, hey, listen, this horse carries himself well, it gives you the notes. So yeah, I'm very positive about that system. With our index, and Ralph is here, that's going to be difficult. Also, how we going to decide, and that's also to do with the number of mares, how you're going to carry that. We are struggling with that in Holland for the moment, how to give that the best, and Ralph can tell you way more about it than me, but we're going to find a solution together that it is workable for all, but above all, that it is very trustful. Because that's the most important. If you read tomorrow about an index and you find out 10 years later that the index was not what you hoped, it is not come out, yeah, then we have a problem. And we have to be very careful. There was no, we tried to do it in 24 the first semester, but now the letter from the KW came out that we need more time to do it correctly, and that you can adjust with it. Oh, Ralph, he would like to say something.
You see with your horse, when you're breeding, always nice starts and good conformation. Is there a relationship, in your opinion, between the rideability of a horse and the conformation? Because
yeah, the thing is, Ralph, if I start with 80 foals, I'm happy to have 5 Grand Prix horses out of that group. And these Grand Prix riders, they can handle a lot. But the other 95% has to get sold to amateurs. And that's why I want good conformation. With good conformation is of good balance and it's good rideability. Yeah, that's why it is so important for me. Because I have to sell it.
You know, in the United States, you're a hunter market.
Yeah.
It's not a direction for the Dutch. How do you decide? You said you sell to the hunter market. Now, how do you decide of these 90 babies, which way you're going to go? Do you select for hunters as well?
Yeah, and
because you don't have the mares. I mean, you don't have the mare line production for hunters in Ocala.
Yeah, we had one stallion. Actually, I got him approved. I bought him we sold him as a hunter. Peter, he was co-owner of him. El Primero. He won with Luis Serio. He won everything.
Oh, yeah.
But we. Sorry?
My friend wanted to breed him and they yelled at him.
Yeah, that's correct. I have some semen left. Okay. I'm the person. You know, you see that guy in the back there with Peter, you go and he sells it to you tonight. No, serious. On one point, when I was at the board, they said we have to make a hunter division in Holland and start to breed hunters. And I was the guy who was a bit against that, because I said, there's only one hunter market in the world, is America. And if you close tomorrow the borders, and it probably will, hopefully it never will happen, but it could be, then there is nowhere else to go with it. But we can see in a jumper some hunter qualities. And if we see that in a jumper, give them the approval, and we're going to use that. I want to have a flat mover, as you know better than me. I want to have a flat canter, and I want to have perfect knees. Yeah? And if I see that in a 3-year-old or in a 4-year-old, I keep it because he's going to go for the hunter market. Yes, we like hunters. We know where we have to look at, and yeah, we take that very seriously. Yeah, and we have also stallions in Europe who bred more hunters than the others, you know. But okay, they have also the gift
What's
of
your
it.
percentage of those 90?
To be hunter, I would say 10, 15 go for the hunter market. Yeah.
Do you cross over into breeds with American stallions, or are you only one breed? Like, would you only do Dutch, only the Bavarian?
Oh no, I'm a guy from outcross. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a big Holstein fan. I bought a lot of stallions in Holstein. I bought a lot of jumpers in Holstein. Hanoverian, it was a bit of pity. In the old days, it was maybe the best jumper breeding, but now you go 40, 50 years. When I was young, you know, if you need a good jumper, you went to Hanover. But they cost so much with these Dressage stallions, so they lost it quite a bit. I have to say, Oldenburg is coming back very strong with Schockemüller running Oldenburg, and he's the president. But no, we have to also, for the Dutch studbook, we have always to see new stallions. If they come from France or they come from Holstein, we're happy with them. And as you know, we had Burggraaf, we had Joost, we had so many good stallions, Libero, and they all were picked up in Holstein as youngsters.
How do you get the information on the other stallions that we have access to in the Dutch, but I can't find in the registries of the Hanoverians and the Holsteiners, as far as score sheets and x-rays and OCD, the genetics? How do
we are Dutch are more open-minded.
Yes, so how are we encouraged to go outside?
It would be difficult, I can tell you. They're changing it a little bit, and maybe the gentleman in the back, he is German, he can tell us better. But no, I'm serious. But it's also for me quite difficult to find as a Dutchman. You know about the Dutch horses, but I know the line so well that I mostly find. But for the other stud books, it's not so easy to find. But they get more open about it, or not?
Yeah, I mean, Oldenburg is always open, you know, like they use French lines and whatever. The only ones that's kind of like really still in the protective mode is Holsteiners.
Yeah.
And they've been through a lot of problems, and we talked to them, they think they can get out of it. But their gene pool is very small, and yet smaller, almost like the Trachenas in the Dressage. So they have to make sure that they get more different blood in. But then they're afraid to open up too much. That's why Belgium and Holland and Germany, US especially, are so leading in this whole thing, because they're choosing the best stallions from all over, and they're not discriminating against any breed, and they choose what they want in their books, and that's why they're so far ahead.
Thank you.
Do you keep the best mares to breed, like breed the best, or?
Yes, I before I sell them, I like to have some offspring.
What age do you start breeding your mares and how fast?
Couple, I take the first embryos out with 3, but I'm also with these show horses. They have to give it to you. If you have to start to inject to get it going, forget about it. They have to give it to you, you know. And I try to be a horseman, and you know, some mares are not ready for it with 3, some mares are not ready with it with 4, and after 6, you know, then the stress from show jumping gets bigger, and then I don't touch them anymore.
Where do you keep you have recipient mares now you have to have for all of them?
Oh Jesus, I need some more acres. Yeah, that's a bit the negative side on it, but okay, that's part of it.
Last chance. Oh.
We did with this committee, it's just starting, we only had a couple meetings, but I sent each one of us an email and asked them what, for them, each personal, their criteria is, what they use, what tools they use, and of course, there are many tools that we all use, tools that we all use, the indexes, the spot results and stuff, but each person usually has his own personal criteria, so that's what we...
Sorry, it keeps going on.
So that's why that's why we just asked everybody to give some criteria what they use, yeah, besides the indexes and the sport results that yeah. So
Connector.
I like to start with some of the criteria that I use, and that is when you as a breeder start, you first have to ask yourself, what's the purpose of your foal? Yeah, is it what is your goal? Is it for a professional? Is it for an amateur? Yeah. Then, are you want to keep the foal? Are you selling the foal? Yeah. Are you developing your mare line? So these are all criteria that are important to your stallion choice. Yeah. And you have your amateur market, your professional market. Yeah. So that's very important. So I asked also Wim, and so Wim, if you want to come forward and explain. Wim was very important. He said it's the name, what a mare line really is. Yeah.
Go a little higher, Bill. Yeah, for me as a breeder, I like. I'm not just looking at the mare itself. I want to see some more information from the mother, the grandmother, maybe if available. That tells me a lot more. If I know anything about the history, have they done anything in sport? Have they done anything good in performance testing? A thing was also in our, if I just go refer to the Dutch harness horses, we have a little bit of an issue with the gene pool because of our small population. So genetics, you know, spreading the broad lines a little bit. So I'm looking towards that too. We are, I mean, what is a problem in our breed? Popular stallions are being used a lot, have a lot of influence. So we see in our pedigrees, for example, a lot of Mano, a lot of Renovo, and I mean it's very good blood, but it has to stop sometimes. You need to find something an outcross to, you know, keep the breed sound and for the future. So that's for me also important. And since I moved here to the U.S., it gave me as a breeder a little bit more freedom to look around for other stallions. And for example, I bred last year. I bred one of my better mares to a saddlebred stallion. To find new genetics, but also we know a lot. We have some information about saddlebreds. They always look at the front end. So we in a Dutch horse, and I think we all like that from the back in the days too. In any breed, we like a strong hind leg and a good powerful hind leg, and that is especially needed in the harness horses, because we only kind of breed only for one gait. Of course, we don't want to forget about the walk, but our biggest goal is a big natural show trot. So that is moving here to the U.S. for my harness breeding program also gives me some new options to find some new stallions, a new pedigree. So, but also I like to see the stallions myself. I like to have them. I booked a horse last year. I booked 2 mares to a stallion, but I saw in a video. And a month later, I saw the horse in person, and yeah, I decided the one mare I booked to that mare, to the stallion, I thought that's gonna work, but I had to change my mind on the other to use them on the other mare because the stallion was, for me, too refined for that mare. So, but that's for me a kind of a thing, very important. See the horse in person, if possible. I mean, a video can tell you a lot, and of course, you know, if you go to Holland, you go to the Stallion show, and you know, I would definitely say, you know, go to the warm-up ring, or you see a lot there, more than in the main ring. So that yeah, for me, this that's pretty much what I'm looking for.
Yeah, no, and we like pretty soon members also to share their experiences and their criteria. So I'll like to ask Megan to come up.
Megan Owen.
Oh no, not Megan. Not Megan. Yeah. Two Megans. Yeah.
Well, the Megan with the age knows a lot, so she may be the person to ask. I breed gelders, so I love dressage. I'm terrified of jumping, and I don't know how to do combined driving. Although someday I would love to learn how to do it. So I figured out a long time ago that Anki wasn't going to come to my farm to buy a dressage horse from me ever. So my market it's an adult amateur, and so for me, what I'm looking for is brains. I really want horses that are sensible and want to work and want to be engaged, and those are the things that I'm really looking for in my breeding program. That's like first and foremost, and then of course some substance and good moving and long-term soundness. So with gelders, I feel like predominantly they're all pretty good movers. They have a lot up in front and a very active hind end. They tend to be more substantial in build than the modern dressage horses. And I think for the lines that we have a little bit the same issue that William was talking about. We have a limited gene pool. So I will look at I'll look at German stallions, and I'll go back as far as I can, 5-6 generations, and I want to see, I already know what the genotype is, but I want to see what the phenotype is out of those mares and stallions, making sure that they're sticking with the type, since I can't necessarily meet a percentage qualification every time. And it's worked out pretty well so far. What I really like about my horses, when people ask me, is like, they are all around. I will be here, we've been here for a week, we will be here for 10 days, and I'm gonna go home and I'm going to saddle up my horse and have a lesson, and it's not gonna be an issue. It's not like I'm gonna have had to, get her back into it and really lunge her or any of those kinds of things. It's like we pick up where we left off every time. And that's really what I appreciate. And the foals are sensible. One of the things that's really great that I've gotten great feedback on from all of the vets I use is that they're born broke. They're really willing. They stand still for X-rays. They do flexions. They do all these things, and they behave really well. And so that's really what I'm looking for when I'm breeding and selecting stallions.
Thank you. So, and we can have a question now, or pretty soon. Yeah. So you have a question? Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to know, when she sells her foals, are people asking for, as a breeder, we wind up, they want this stallion that everybody talks about, and they don't even know anything. With the gelders, those stallions that you use, are your buyers looking for certain offspring, or how do they?
Interestingly enough, they are, I sell them, or I get referred, another breeder refers to somebody's looking for something specific, and I have it, and they'll call me, and I find I end up educating them about what gelders is and what those lines mean and where they come from, and many of our country's top horses have gelders blood in them, and if I refer to some of those horses, and then they go, oh, okay, and then they come out and then they meet them, and they can see their dams there usually and meet them, and they sell themselves.
throw the latest stallion on the block?
We are getting a lot of really good gelded stallions in the United States now. Scott has brought in Flores, and he has one that's going through the approval process now. That'll be pretty exciting. Chelsea Sibley has her stallion that she just got approved or erkined, and he's already a Grand Prix horse with many wins. So there's a lot of opportunities that didn't exist before. And Mackenzie's here, yeah.
And he'll actually do an IVOP tomorrow, so you'll see Mackenzie. He's an approved gelded stallion from Holland.
Really brought one up.
Yeah, and Willie's Pharaoh.
Yep.
So, yeah, he's incredible.
Yeah, so some of the other criteria I wrote down as well that I use is that the weakest points in a mare should not stand in the way of the purpose of the foal. A lot of times we all look at what needs to get better and all that stuff. So, but if you have points in your mare that stand in the way of the purpose of your foal, then you can pretty much count on it that the mare is only going to pass its good things on too, but also the bad traits. So if you eliminate the traits that you say, those I definitely don't want, or those are not going to be good for my foal's future, then you should reconsider a different mare. You can pick a stallion, but you also need to look at your mare. And what I always do too is that instead of you often hear they breed opposite to opposite, I like to see more breed strong points to strong points. And that way you emphasize that, and you get a better foal. And the weak points should not be a problem, and of course the weak points you like to compensate for, but especially also focus on the strong points in your mare line, and the strong points in the stallion. So, and then maybe Jens wants to come, and Jens had also some ideas and things he follows.
Yeah, hello. I'm the one Paul referred to as the German. I don't know how he found out, because I have no accent at all. So, anyways, here I am. In Germany, we usually say, when you breed, you have to think in generations, and also think about your mare line you have, and also think ahead what you want to have in 3 generations from now. Sometimes it's nice to buy a really, really good mare already that has been really proven bloodlines, even if she is a little bit, like 10 or 11, and get some nice foals out of it and start your breeding program that way. And then just try to get a filly, and hopefully you can keep the filly, and just produce modern horses if you can. So that's what I always say. Keep the breeding modern, and choose some stallions, they are proven and produce really nice foals already, and produce a nice horse. The other thing is that American market and the European market is different. So in the European market is more like, who chooses the first best stallion that's approved, and then sell the foal to a stallion person that tries to have then the first crop as a 2-year-old, and come out, with a nice 2-year-old or 3-year-old stallion at the approvals. And it's like a little stock market, what you don't have here in the United States. So if you don't sell them as a foal, or, yearling is usually hard to sell. If you don't sell them, then better be prepared to have them as a riding horse, and make sure that is a really good riding horse, because that's the only way then you will market your horse if you want to sell it. And that's sometimes a problem if you try to breed with the younger stallion in Europe and try to get it here, and it's unproven, and maybe it doesn't even make it to the process of the stallion testing, and then you're stuck here with a horse that's a little bit unknown stallion. And that's why I always say try to use some 5-6-year-olds. They already been doing their stallion testing that they done, and then you can focus on their pedigree and their performance, and hopefully they will go up to Grand Prix and maybe even international sports, and then you might have a nice filly that you will keep. So that's kind of like how I think about the 2 different markets, yeah, so
Yeah, so we hear all different criteria and different reasons and thoughts about it. So I'd like to open up the questions here, or stories, or ideas that you all use. You are all breeders and you select stallions already for many years. So we should share each other's ideas and criteria you use, and where you've been happy with and what has been disappointing. So I don't know who wants to start. Okay, go ahead.
I have a question. If you have a stallion that is an American stallion and then it gets approved for KWPN, what requirements does that stallion have? Do they have their same crop requirements, their endoscope? Do they have the same requirements to be approved KWPN that, or is it just if they're approved in their registry?
No, I think, but I mean, Ralph can probably answer that better, but I think if they're Erkent, and they're Erkent because of their performance and all of a sudden they have certain requirements, but I think it's different than when you're a young stallion. So, but I don't know exactly, so maybe Ralph, can you answer the question?
Most of the requirements are the same, but when it's...
The question was if Erkent stallions have to have the same requirements as normal KWPN stallions, do they?
Mostly most requirements are the same, but when a cat stallion has already been in sports on the Grand Prix level for a long time, there can be some requirements that's not taken in of the consideration. But normally it's all the same. We need the DOC predicate, we need the X-rays. That's still the same.
The only thing 9 out of 10 times that we don't do is the semen report. Because a lot of times they already have produced a lot of offspring.
Yeah.
Okay, now we know it functions. Yeah?
And do we have access to any of that information of other registries?
No. Of other registries, you mean? No, we don't.
Those are airgun stallions, not stallions from other, that are from airgun stud books. It's a difference.
Individually American is different than an American stud book. Okay, so
Oh, yeah.
individually American stallions have gone through the stuff with the Dutch. It's the ones from other registries that are just from like Uno Don Diego is from an American, a stud book, so he didn't have to do anything. But Florianus was approved, but he had to do everything. He had to do the X-rays, the scoping. He didn't do semen tests because he had a lot of babies, but that's it.
So in the end, if you go to like the German registries and you look online, you can find their health requirements for stallions. You can see what they need to do to be approved. But it's sometimes different than what they need to do.
Okay, go ahead.
I believe if the American Stallion has made it to the top 20 in the world for the WBFSH, I think, don't they no longer have to fulfill?
No, that's true,
Yeah. Because it happened to us with the Lunar Way, for
Okay.
example. The one thing I would want to mention to other breeders is that just the most important thing is never to double up on the same fault. Never have the same mare and the same stallion have the same fault. When they both have long backs, you don't want to breed, that, or long pasterns, just not correct. Would you agree?
Yeah, I tell you, why would you double up on the weak points, but at the same time, you should double up on the good points, and not that you just weigh off the good and the bad. Because then you kind of stir the pot a little bit, but yeah, I think the weak points are just as important to look at than the strong points.
Scott, what are your thoughts on selecting a stallion for your mare base?
Have a few. Come up here.
Would you share them with us, Scott? Would you please come up?
The short answer is I have a really clear vision in my head of what I want to be producing, and all of that vision, I'm adjusting it constantly and changing it, but still a vision that I have, and I revisit that vision every year before making breeding decisions, and I separate the obvious stuff, the faults of the mare, the strengths of the mare, et cetera, but I separate stallions into 3 categories. Are they
a stallion of the past? They're gonna take my breeding program backwards? Are they a stallion that's gonna maintain my breeding program? Or is it a stallion that's gonna take me to the future? And I only pick future stallions. So a stallion maybe 3 years ago might have been a future stallion for me, but I look at him now and I think he's no longer a future stallion. So it's completely an evolution for me, and I have specific things I'm always working on, but as Jens said, it's about generations for me. And it's the future of my program in particular. I don't really care what the KWPN is doing. I appreciate the system, but just because of the stallions they select doesn't mean I'm going to select the same stallion. It's the future of my program, not anybody else's.
No, I think that is very clear, and I think that as a breeder, if you don't have your own vision, yeah, then after a while you're going to be just totally off on the wrong path because you try to follow everybody's idea and you can't. You know, you have to use all the information, but you have your plan and your goals in order to be a breeder, and otherwise it becomes more producing horses. Yeah, but if you're a breeder, that you really have a vision what you try to create, and then it becomes also fun, and then it becomes kind of a thing that you not just do, you know, something you learn and you grow into. Yeah.
And you make mistakes. You make mistakes on the end too. You will.
So maybe Josh, you're a younger starter breeder, so what are your thoughts of how you got started?
Before Josh, sorry to interrupt. What Nancy just said, I see a lot of horses. More than a lot of Americans. I go to Holland all the time. I go to the first ring every year and I sit there and I watch every single horse go. I think when we say how you see the future, I see the past and I see the present really clearly. Because of all the horses I see, I know how I want to move beyond that becomes the future.
Because you also see the bad things in some horse lines. They're not even selected anymore, and then when people only watch the approvals with selected horses, that's the creme de la creme.
One year, but then
yes.
They're not selected the next year, and you find out why they didn't select more the next year. I mean, things like that. Sorry, Josh.
Okay, Josh.
I would say for my program, we have what has ended up being a lot of mares fairly quickly. So I kind of set a different goal in that I try to breed my mares so that I kind of have a marketable crop of foals. So I kind of look at my mares and I write a list of all of them. And I look at, okay, can you breed like 4 foals that I might want to ride, be hot, athletic professionals horses, and I can sell a couple of those and keep a couple. And then can I breed some that are kind of more middle of the line, that could kind of fall either way, and then some that are also really amateur friendly. So I've kind of been trying to really breed marketable full crops, so have kind of a variety of options.
And I'm just going to throw out there, if you want to learn more about Josh, listen to the podcast. Yes.
Okay, anybody has more idea? Okay, go ahead.
Just question, so like, because Karen and I were just talking about United Touch, so like, what are overall feelings when you guys are choosing stallions, about stallions that have doubled up? Like, he's doubled up very close, but like, how much, would you choose a stallion that's got a lot of like inbreeding, or would you choose, or would you steer clear of that, or are there certain stallions that you say if it's far enough back we're okay, or certain lines you wouldn't double up on?
Are you talking about
line
United Touch?
Yeah. Well, like something like that, like his,
Okay,
he's
well,
got.
for example, he's line bred,
Yeah,
right?
very.
So, and he has a big thing what they need to work on that horse at home.
Yeah.
If he's not in 115%, he's not going to jump as what he showed now lately, because he needs to be supple, and really, top shape before they take him, and then he can do everything. Yeah. But that's, also they line bred that horse. We have, classic trust behind it, and that is something. What is good. You got double the genetics, but also you get double the genetics what
you have to work with now.
Yeah. Well, but like as people who are choosing stallions, like would you choose a stallion that has a lot of close in or line breeding, or would you steer clear of that, or would it depend on that stallion and your mare?
I think in a third generation and stuff, it's no problem really to double up on certain traits you want to improve in your horse, and if it's a nice stallion that fits and it has maybe that in the back, it's not that bad. I wouldn't do a full sister pairing really, in a way. So I mean, they did that before with Ratina, they did full siblings and stuff, and the horse was very successful, but I don't think a lot of people do it. Third generation, I think it's fine, and you can double up on good things too.
Is United Tribes closer than, isn't it within 4 generations it's inbreeding, and after that it's line breeding? I thought he was by and out of a mare and a stallion with the same sire, is that correct?
No,
Or they have siblings?
the same, the parents are not siblings.
The parents are not siblings.
Yeah, and then they did full sibling pairing with Latina, and I think it was Rebel Z or something. Yeah. So where they did full sibling pairing, and who came out of that one?
Well, wouldn't that be inbreeding, not line breeding?
It is inbreeding, yeah, it is. Yeah. But that's to the extreme.
Just call it line breeding, but it's all inbreeding. That's line breeding when it works.
In the beef cattle industry is line breeding a lot more popular, and they like it, but I also have a thing that they say they do line breeding, and if it didn't work out, they call it inbreeding. And if it works, they call it line breeding. So, and it also, in the beef cattle industry, it's a much shorter lifespan, and so it's a lot more forgiving, but yeah, sometimes it works out, but I think in the horse business, I don't think it's a good thing to get started with it, because I don't think it's going to get any foot on the ground to establish something, but I think if there's anything that you can, say, do a little bit in it, would be in the mare line, that you bring a stallion back that you had in the mare line before and stuff, and that you anchor certain traits that you really like, but I don't think that it's advisable.
And I think you would see it more with really big-time breeders, that they will do it more often. I think it's maybe just some people, they try to experiment a little bit and get something, that works on the end. But also there's probably a lot of they don't work out and they just disappear.
Yeah.
Because with my mare being by El Dorado, who's by Clinton, it's like I'm trying to figure out where that balance of how soon can I do something with Clinton and how far back is it fits in everything.
Right.
So yeah, that's.
But you have plenty of choices with different bloodlines first, and
plenty
then
other choices.
So yeah.
So anybody else likes to add to their philosophy?
So I like what you said about, everybody's got to look at their goals and what they want to produce and everything. And I know for my program, I've always looked at, they've got to have good temperament, and because I don't want to deal with it, I've dealt with it very young, and I said, no, I don't want to deal with that kind of horse, nobody does, and good rideability. But also, from listening to Neo this morning, they got to have good feet. Otherwise, you're just going to spend the expenses down there. And most here, what we sell to is like 90% adult amateurs. So, and everybody knows that full siblings are not alike. We know it from our own brothers and sisters that, you hope to get that combination that you want, but it probably won't. So if you have that, it's going to go on to do something. It may not be your goal, but it's going to go on to do something.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to be flexible. If you breed a dressage horse and it's maybe not the biggest mover, but it's still a super nice riding horse, maybe it ends up being a nice little hunter for somebody.
Correct.
And you should not close your eyes and say, you know what, this horse is not a dressage, let's get rid of it, right?
Yeah.
So give it different chances, right? Let it free jump and see what and that's the beauty of the United States market, is that you have that whole equitation hunter market that you can then promote, and the hunters love well-ridden dressage horses, and with a really nice rhythm and a nice, like canter and flying lead change. So I think that's the way to look at it, and it opens up another market. And don't be afraid of asking your neighbor that's a hunter stable and say, hey, would you mind sitting on this and just riding it and see what you feel about it. And all of a sudden you say, I have a client for this horse, So there's not the end of it if it's not really like going up in the dressage so much. don't panic, you know, just find a different way. And I had that too, you know, you would like to have a big moving horse, everybody likes to ride, and sometimes it doesn't work out like this and we all make mistakes. But then you find the right niche for the horse, and there's always a buyer for your horse. You just have to find the right way. Even somebody just wants a really nice horse that's super friendly and pays $40,000, $50,000 for it just to have it at home and ride on somewhere. So they're out there, those people.
I think also the term professional horse and amateur horse is coming more and more together, because there are very few amateurs who just want to sit on a horse that doesn't move well enough, and then there is no professional who says, oh, I want a horse that's difficult. Everybody wants to have a horse that's rideable, has good rideability, really good gaits, a horse that we said earlier that has good conformation, is easy to ride, so it's easy to ride for an amateur, easy to ride for a professional, and so the term as a breeder to say, oh, it's just for an amateur, or the quality, they all want the quality, and we all want rideability, and the professional doesn't want to fight. And a lot of times, especially in this country, you see the combination of trainer and rider, and owner. So they like to have, the trainer likes to have a competitive horse, but it has to be safe. And as a breeder, I think you need to really look at potential, for rideability, gaits, quality of gaits, and go ahead. Yeah.
How much credence do you give to these young horse classes that are becoming so popular with both the dressage and the jumping in your selection process?
Yeah, we are very active in it, and I think it's a very good standard to follow. The FEI Young Horse Program. Whatever the horse needs to do as a 4-year-old, it should be very easy, manageable, and easy to be able to do. Does your horse have to be ready in January to do the 4-year-old test, or in October, November? Makes a big difference, So you got to look at your horse. If your horse is ready, and maybe it's not ready as in the beginning of the year, but it could be. But he should still be ready, be able to do that at the end of the year, And the 5-year-old should follow those requirements. And then, by the time you have a 7-year-old horse, you have a horse that's ready to go on to do FEI or Prix St. George, or is trained to a certain level, And otherwise, you can stay at home and say, oh, he's still young, and then by the time you find out he's 6 or 7, he's only training level, So by following that training scale, you cannot be asleep at the wheel, and you have to really focus and work at it, but it is a good standard to follow. And then you need to read, in between, if your horse is ready, or for certain reasons, there is a reason why the mare, if you have a mare and she had a fall, and maybe you were not able to ride it, and then you can be a little bit flexible, but I think it's a very good standard to follow.
Is it overly ambitious in its expectation? I mean, I watched young horse jumping classes in Colorado this year, and those jumps were huge.
Some horses are ready early, some horses need time. Like my horse is usually not ready with growing until they're 6 years old. So you have to see what the horse is giving you too, right? You cannot just say, every horse is the same and say, oh yeah, 4-year-old has to do this and 5-year-old has. You really have to look, and my bloodlines I breed, they're late horses. So, and you have to give them the time, but basically what Billy is saying is like, just see it as a little guideline where they could be when they grow nicely and everything works out. Because some horses even, grow and the legs hurt them from growing so much and stuff, and so you have to make sure that you still keep the guideline in a way to follow, and like Willie said, not to have a 7-year-old that's not even going training level, just because, I give him time, right? You have to push it a little bit too, and find the right riders maybe, and all those things, just to keep up with it. And then when they're 6, 7, not all of them are young horses, for the young horse championships and stuff. Some are just like when they're 6, 7 years old, then you see the rideability, you see it coming together, where they then have, all of a sudden you can ride a nice big trot, right? Because you can ride them nice.
Which platform do you think is better for marketability for a breeder, going up through those young horse programs, or just doing training level dressage, or just doing meter jumpers? Which one?
For a smaller breeder, it would be, the best would be like the Curing, the IVOP, and the DG Bar Cup, and the GES Cup, pretty soon the Jumping Cup. So, and then they're not judged on the technical riding so much, it's more on the ability. and you have your horse evaluated compared to all other Dutch horses in the same age group. Yeah, instead of that, you go to a training level show and you compete against horses that are 10 years old, yeah, and you have a 4-year-old, yeah, and it also can be different breeds, a different criteria, and the judges can be different, and you can go to a small show, big show, yeah, so that is also a little bit the purpose of those 2 cups that gives breeders the opportunity to show horses with least amount of training. I mean, obviously they have to be ridden well and stuff, but they're not judged just on the technical aspect of it, yeah. And
But then past that, after they've done that, then where do you direct? Do you direct it more toward the young horses?
yeah, I think that you compare apples to apples. You're in the same age bracket. Yeah, and then you have usually also the judges that are judged those classes all over. Yeah, so you have more reliable judges, I think.
I don't agree with your point of view. I think that if you're breeding to sell, it's better to get your baby after you do the current system, better to get your baby some regional training level dressage shows, because I find that our clients, once the horses did belong places and done stuff, they don't care necessarily about the young horse programs. They're looking for their next lower level dressage horse. So for me, I'm always encouraging our horses, get to little shows, get to outings, because once they've gone to a show or 2, people want to buy it. Because, you know, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do the young horse stuff, I'm just saying, if you're just looking to get your horses sold, and you want to, you know, and then work with a little hunter, get them to the little hunter shows, because then people know, most people want a safe horse that they know isn't going to be a freak when they take it off the property. And they just want to be able to know they can handle it, get it on and off the trailer safely by themselves, because they don't have a bunch of people helping them. So if you're talking about, what I think you're saying is how do you want to be able to market your horses, which avenue?
Yeah, well, I think it's depending on the quality of the horse and depending on your purpose, you know, what is everything, you know. It's
yeah, your goals, but I mean.
Okay, go ahead.
I just feel like the young horse programs are designed to identify top talent. That's what and having had my horses doing it, I mean, I've done the eventing, but I feel like that is the main goal of those programs is to identify the future top talent horses in our industry. And it's not a bad program to participate in. I think your horses can get good exposure and good experience, but you have to go into it with a grain of salt that your horse might not be able to take the pressure that's required to be at the top in those divisions. So if you have a horse with a wonderful mind and it's got all the movement and they can handle doing that work, that's great, but not, like Jen said, not every horse is going to be able to follow that pattern.
No.
And if you go to it and you don't succeed with your horse, then what? Then people are going to be like, oh, well, he went to the stuff and he did really bad. And that's negative.
I think you can also just use it as a guideline. Like,
That's
it's
right.
not meaning that you need
Yeah.
to go and compete and be the champion, but
Yes.
you can use the training scale
Yeah,
as
the training
a
scale,
guideline.
the training scale, whatever a horse in the.
Yeah, and go to the, like, you can do, like, young horse show series is, I think, a little more gauged to, like, a grassroots versus the actual dressage, eventing, and 100-member young horse classes, because those are the classes, in my opinion, that are designed to identify top talent. We look at it and say, oh, it's got an age, and maybe like, oh, that's perfect for our baby horse to get out and get experience, but I don't think so. I don't agree. I think there's two different
Right. You have to see two different things are also that you have one, it's the KWPN goals, what they have in their breeding program, and they want to judge apple by apple and see what's out there, where the breeding is going, and you as a breeder can then take their advice and say, okay, and then also you see other horses in your same thing and see where they are, and as a breeder, that, like Scott said, you see a bunch of horses and then you make your own mind up and see which way you want to go, where you lack in your own breeding part, and that's basically the whole discussion is like what you should choose a stallion for and stuff. This is more like this, right? If you're just talking about marketing a horse, there's different avenues to do it, in a way, right? And that's what Megan is saying, you know what, we ride our horses, we bring them out, people see them, they know they're good to go, they can come and buy them and gone they are, and they take them home. But if you're talking about breeding horses and doing the right pairing, you need to go in front of this commission and say, let's judge them, because they have their breeding goals too, and they want to tell you which breeding goal they want to go and which way they want to go. You can still make your own decisions, and like Scott says, you know what, I don't always agree with them, right? But then you have to take your own risk, and most of the time, if you have a good feeling for a stallion and for your mare, it works. And the last avenue is like changing directions and managing your horse yourself, because no organization will help you to manage your horse. It's all about you. And then you have to
Okay.
just, you know.